What? Something happened to Vic. Ethan Ford's heart skipped a beat. He stood up abruptly, his expression turning grim. Victor, the Reaper, Vane was a heavyweight in Chicago's underworld. A local snake no one dared to provoke. Could it be the Thunder Bay crew? It was very likely. Last time, the Thunder Bay crew had stormed one of Victor's venues and started a brawl that left Camel in the hospital, where he was still recovering. That group was lawless, ruthless, and incredibly difficult to deal with. Yes, Mr. Ford. Boss Vane can't come to the phone right now, but he asked me to give you a heads up. He wants you to be careful these next few days. Big Ed's deep voice resonated from the other end of the line. Ethan glanced at Grace Miller and her father, George. Both looked at him with confusion and concern. Ethan walked to the side and lowered his voice. All right, I got it. Where's Vic now? The same hospital as last time? Is it serious? Yes, sir. Both arms are injured, Big Ed replied. Ethan forced himself to sound calm. Send me the location. I'll come over to visit in a bit. After hanging up, Ethan returned to his seat and poured George another glass of wine. What's wrong? You don't look so good. Did something happen? George asked, concerned. It's nothing, Uncle George. Just a friend of mine ran into some trouble and needs me. I might have to head out for a bit. I'm really sorry about this, Ethan said, scratching his head apologetically. It's fine, I understand. When you're out in the world, you have to rely on friends. If it's urgent, go handle it, George said with a smile. Thanks, Uncle George. Let me toast you one last time. We'll drink properly when I have more free time. Ethan raised his glass. They clinked glasses, and Ethan stood up to let Lily know not to bother cooking more dishes. Before he left, Grace helped him on with his coat, her eyes filled with worry. Ethan, is everything really okay? Although she was usually carefree, she was very attentive to Ethan's subtle expressions. Seeing his grim look earlier, she sensed something bad had happened. Ethan was acting calm to reassure them, but she knew it wasn't a small matter. Hearing that he had to rush out late at night only made her worry more. Ethan buttoned his coat, turned back to pat her head, and smiled. Dummy, don't worry. It's nothing major. I'll just go take a look and come right back. I'll wait for you to come back. If you don't come back, I won't sleep. Grace pouted, her voice so sweet it could melt bones. All right. Wait for me. Ethan smiled and turned to leave. Ethan, wait, Grace called out suddenly. What is it? Ethan turned back. Grace took a few steps forward, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him on the cheek. She smiled sweetly. I'll be waiting. Ethan touched the warmth lingering on his cheek, feeling his heart swell. He nodded firmly and left. Inside, George and Lily watched the couple's farewell at the door, unable to suppress their knowing smiles. Those two kids are so sweet, Lily said happily. It's good. Maybe we'll get to hold a grandson sooner than we think. George laughed heartily. Late at night, Chicago Beacon Hill Hospital. It was a private hospital Victor had invested in. By the time Ethan arrived, it was deep into the night. As soon as he entered, he noticed Victor's men patrolling the halls. When he reached the intensive care unit, there were over a dozen guys guarding the corridor, including the burly Big Ed. Mr. Ford, you're here. Big Ed stepped forward to greet him. Yeah. Is Vic in the ICU? Ethan asked, surprised. Yes. Boss said if you came, you should go straight in. This way, please. Big Ed bowed slightly. Led by Big Ed, Ethan walked into the ICU. The lights were bright inside. As soon as he entered, he saw Victor sitting up in bed, smoking a cigarette. Ethan paused. He can sit up and smoke? It doesn't look that serious. The heart that had been in his throat finally settled. Vic, are you okay? Ethan walked quickly to the bedside to inspect him. Victor's face was rosy and he looked energetic. Only his arms were bandaged, but otherwise he seemed perfectly fine, full of life, even. I'm Fine. What could happen to me? Ethan, I made you worry, didn't I? Victor grinned. Then why are you? Ethan asked in confusion, before a realization struck him like lightning. Vic, is this a show for someone else? For the Thunder Bay crew? Victor chuckled, swung his legs off the bed, and handed a cigarette from the table to Ethan. Ethan, you're sharp. This is exactly what we planned, isn't it? Ethan took the cigarette, a metaphorical dark cloud hanging over his head. I just didn't expect you to use yourself as the bait. What if something went wrong? Victor shrugged nonchalantly. You can't catch the wolf if you won't risk the child. Now, they definitely think I was critically injured today. They'll make a big move. If we don't draw them out, we'll be stuck on the defensive. Only when they stick their heads out, especially Ray Young, the leader of the Thunder Bay crew, will we have a chance to grab them. Ethan's mouth twitched. It was the plan they had discussed, but he hadn't anticipated Victor would play the victim so convincingly. Thankfully, it seemed like he wasn't really hurt. If something had actually happened to Victor, his subordinates would have been hard to control. Vic, I know, but this is too dangerous. Ethan lit his cigarette and shook his head, disapproving of the risk. Victor blew out a smoke ring and chuckled lightly. If the stakes aren't high, that old fox won't show himself. Don't worry, I'm fine. My men are watching them, just waiting for them to move. Ethan, I need to remind you. Bax Mitchell from Thunder Bay has already hooked up with Damian Cross. Damian took a hit last time, so he's looking to get even with you. Plus, your businesses are in the same lane. I heard Internet Cafe business has been booming since it opened. In the University District, people are lining up to get in. Damian's dinky little internet cafes are probably taking a beating. You need to be careful. Ethan looked surprised. He hadn't expected Victor to be so well informed about Westford Gaming. It seemed Victor had been keeping a close eye on Damian Cross. All right, Vic, I know. I've already started setting up a security company, and we're recruiting. And if they dare to make a move, I have another way to deal with them. Ethan revealed a cunning smile. Victor looked at him with some surprise. Every time he saw that smile on Ethan's face, he knew the kid was cooking up something devious. What's your plan? Victor asked curiously. Ethan leaned in and whispered a few sentences into Victor's ear. After hearing it, Victor couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Good. You kid, that's sinister. Ethan smiled. It's called maximum impact with minimum cost. Fighting and killing is too dangerous. You better not make a move. If he dares to touch me, he'll regret it. Victor pointed at Ethan, joking half-heartedly. You clever rascal. You got a thick skin and a black heart. It's a pity you aren't walking my path. Ethan shrugged. Vic, I just want to make money in peace. The underworld isn't for me. Besides, as the economy gets better, only crazy people want to be gangsters. Back when life was hard and things were chaotic, being a gangster was a way to make money and stand out. It was dangerous, but understandable. But things are different now. We're joining the WDO. The economy is full of opportunities. The risk of being a gangster is too high. It's not worth it. Ethan spoke with sincerity. It was his genuine belief, and also a subtle attempt to persuade Victor to keep a low profile and focus on making money legitimately. Victor naturally understood the subtext and nodded appreciatively. It's good that you think that way, but you and I are different. You're still on the outside. I'm already in deep. Trying to get out now would be harder than climbing to heaven. Ethan took a drag of his cigarette and shook his head. It was the truth, and there was no easy solution. When you're in the life, you don't control your own fate. By the way, Ethan, keep this quiet. Don't let Valerie know. I don't want her worrying, Victor instructed. You're overthinking it. She's been hanging out with Henry so much lately. She probably hasn't even thought about you. Ethan laughed. Victor, Omega. That kid Henry wants to be my brother-in-law? It won't be that easy. If he doesn't show me enough respect, how can I agree? Victor said with a straight face. Ethan was amused. He flicked his ash and smiled. All right, I'll pass your message along later. Since the incident at the bar, Victor had basically accepted Henry Payne as a potential brother-in-law. Lately, he had been giving Henry pointers and often inviting Henry and his sister Hannah over for dinner, treating them like family. Ethan was happy to see this. If Henry really ended up with Valerie Vane, their relationship would be even stronger, family on top of business. However, Ethan always emphasized to Henry that he needed to keep a distance from Victor regarding business. Personal relationships were fine, but business interests shouldn't mix, or he could get dragged into underworld feuds. Henry kept this in mind. Westford Gaming never involved any cooperation with underworld industries. Victor waved his hand and smiled. All right, I called you over just so you know what's happening. Just be careful from now on. Ethan stubbed out his cigarette. Okay, I need to swing by Henry's place anyway to check on him and inspect the Net Cafe's security. Vic, I won't disturb your rest. After saying goodbye to Victor, Ethan left the ICU. At the door of the ward, Big Ed was waiting. Seeing him come out, he stepped forward. Mr. Ford, do you need a ride? No need. I can get back myself. Big Ed, it might be tough for you and the brothers for a while, Ethan said, patting him on the shoulder in thanks. Big Ed, a towering figure of 6'2" built like a tank, remained respectful in front of Ethan. It was all because of the unusual relationship between Victor and Ethan. The fact that Victor contacted Ethan first when something happened showed how much Victor trusted him. Hey, it's what I should do, Big Ed nodded. All right, get busy. I'm heading back. Call me if anything happens. Ethan smiled and left. Leaving Beacon Hill Hospital, Ethan took a cab to the Net Cafe in the University District. It was the Westford Gaming University branch. Henry Payne would be there tonight. By the time Ethan arrived at the Net Cafe, it was 11:00 p.m. The cafe was inside a commercial plaza and there was still a crowd of people sitting at the entrance waiting for machines. It looked like another full house. At the entrance, 2 servers were busy pouring tea and water for customers, occasionally handing out peanuts and sunflower seeds, ensuring that customers felt the premium service even while waiting. Ethan walked into the store. A waitress recognized him and greeted him. "Mr. Ford, you're here. Good work. Is Mr. Payne in?" Ethan asked with a smile. "Yes, Mr. Payne is still busy in the office," the waitress replied respectfully. "Okay, I'll go find him myself." Ethan nodded. He was about to go in when he saw Henry walking out quickly to meet him. "Boss." A smile appeared on Henry's usually stern face. It was a smile reserved for his own people. He was typically strict and unsmiling with the staff. "Still busy this late? I want to see Vic tonight and thought I'd come check on you." "Come on, let's talk inside," Ethan said. "Sure, I was just about to report some work to you. You came at the right time." Henry nodded, and the two walked into the Net Cafe together. Meanwhile, in a corner of the mall, a young man wearing a black jacket with a skull logo was staring furtively at the Net Cafe entrance. The young man picked up a photo in his hand. The person in the photo was Ethan Ford. Immediately, he dialed a number. "Boss, I saw that kid Ethan Ford. He just went in the Net Cafe." "Yeah, I'm watching. Don't worry. All right, the boys and I are ready. Just waiting for your word." "Okay, I'll wait." The young man hung up the phone, continuing to crouch in the corner, smoking and occasionally glancing at the Net Cafe door. At the same moment, in the office of Maxim Inc., Damian Cross put down his phone and stood up to hand a cigarette to the man opposite him. "Max, I heard you guys pulled off a big one today. Went right into Victor Vane's territory." Damian asked with an eager, fawning smile. Bax Mitchell took the cigarette, lit it, and smiled sinisterly. Yeah, it was a big one. Victor Vane? He's not untouchable. My big brother is out to get him." Damian poured him some tea, secretly alarmed. The Thunder Bay crew really didn't care about consequences. It seemed they were determined to fight Victor to the death. But this was good. For him, it was like watching tigers fight from the mountaintop. It would be best if the Thunder Bay crew took Victor out. All right, and that Ethan Ford. Thinking of Ethan, Damian felt a bellyful of rage. Not only did Ethan embarrass him and take down Goldie's crew, but he also opened a Net Cafe in the same district. Wasn't that blatantly stealing business? Now, his Net Cafe business was plummeting. People would rather wait in line at Westford Gaming than come to his places. Damian thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "Bax, your boss Ray and I are old friends. I'll definitely do my best to cooperate with you on dealing with Victor, but I have a favor to ask, brother." What is it? Speak," Bax said indifferently, propping his legs up on the coffee table and smoking. Damian blew out a smoke ring, a vicious look appearing on his face. "I want you to help me take care of someone. Late night, Westford Gaming office." Henry handed the monthly report to Ethan and smiled lightly. "Boss, take a look. The revenue for Westford Gaming is a bit above expectations. The machines are full every day. There's almost no downtime. Aside from our own operations, a big reason is that a new game, Counter-Strike, has officially caught on here. Half the people in the cafe are playing it right now. And per your instructions, we've started organizing in-house tournaments. A lot of customers are coming just for that. It's making our user stickiness and appeal way higher than other cafes." Ethan wasn't surprised at all. He said calmly, "CS. It has that charm." Ethan remembered sneaking over the wall with his roommates in the middle of the night just to play Counter-Strike. At this time, the official version of CS only supported LAN play in most cafes because the dedicated lines in small joints were terrible. Lag City. But Westford Gaming used the best, highest capacity dedicated lines in Chicago. 200 machines in a single store could play online smoothly. That experience alone was leagues ahead of the average Net Cafe. He flipped through Henry's report, looking at the revenue figures, and was somewhat surprised. Single store monthly revenue is $121,000? Not bad. This result really does exceed expectations. His original projection was that if they hit 70% of full capacity revenue, around $70,000, it would be a success. Now, a single store doing over $120,000 a month was significantly above target. Henry replied, "Boss, the reason we could exceed revenue is mainly because your membership system worked. A lot of this month's revenue came from customers topping up their memberships. Just this one store has over 5,000 members now, mostly students from nearby schools. Our profit per machine hour has reached $8, and food and drinks provided a significant chunk of the revenue too." Ethan nodded with satisfaction. "Henry, you are a perfect executor. I always feel at ease with you handling things." The 3 cafes combined have exceeded expectations. You're getting a big bonus this year, huh? Henry chuckled and scratched his head. I just want to do my best and not let you down. It's what I should do. Ethan finished reading the file. The 3 cafes had roughly similar performance, each bringing in around $120,000 a month. Total revenue was $360,000, excluding venue, personnel, and operating costs. These 3 cafes would break even in just over 2 months. He planned to repay the loan to the City Development Bank once the cafes broke even, and then apply for a $20 million credit line to expand the net cafe business to New York, Los Angeles, and Houston, laying out a network in the super-tier cities to build an influential chain. In this golden age of internet cafes, opening a store was basically printing money. It was a cash cow. Later, coupled with the launch of a game similar to The Legend of Mir 2, they could drive a wave of internet usage across the country. Compared to CS, the upcoming MMORPGs were the main event. Next year, in September 2001, Shanda would acquire the distribution rights for The Legend of Mir 2 in China. Within 2 years, they earned over $100 million from that game alone. Dollars, not RMB. Almost everyone in net cafes across the country would be playing that game, buying time cards, spending like crazy. It became a generational memory. That showed just how popular it was. If Westford Gaming could develop a similar MMORPG one step ahead and seize the market, the company's market cap could exceed $1 billion within 2 years. Ethan thought for a moment and said seriously, Henry, first, take the operating model from these 3 cafes and standardize it. Refine the management system and document the experience. Soon, you'll need to replicate this model in other cities and open up new markets. Second, use every university channel you can to dig up game development talent. Spend heavy if you have to. Poach talent from home and abroad. Get the Westford Gaming Development team assembled as soon as possible and complete the game planning and development according to the roadmap. Third, the organization processes and systems for Westford's esports tournaments need to be finalized. Our tournaments need to be impressive. It's a clever way to raise brand awareness. Strive to host the most influential domestic esports tournament within the next year. There's a lot to do. The burden on your shoulders isn't light. Feeling the weight of Ethan's trust, Henry said solemnly, Boss, I understand. Don't worry. I'll realize our plan step by step, grounded in reality. Ethan smiled, stood up, and handed him a cigarette. Good, but the work is never ending. Don't kill yourself over it. You need to have fun too. Work-life balance. If you're busy all day, Valerie's going to come after me. Henry blushed and took the cigarette. Probably not. Val is very understanding. Haha, I'm just reminding you. By the way, if you have free time, take some tobacco or booze to your future brother-in-law, Vic. Before you secure Valerie, you got to secure her brother. Ethan patted him on the shoulder. All right, boss. I get it. Henry grinned foolishly. Only when Valerie was mentioned would a shy, boyish look appear on his face. The smile was goofy, but it looked happy. Okay. By the way, one more thing. I've established a security company. I'll be sending personnel to the net cafes soon. Take me to check the surveillance system now. I want to verify it. It's a troubled time. Now that our business is taking off, people will get jealous. If anything happens, I hope you won't rush to be impulsive. The most important thing is that people are safe. Money can be earned again, but if people are gone, they're gone. Don't be rash like last time, understood? Ethan instructed seriously. Henry felt warm inside and nodded heavily. I understand, boss. Afterward, Henry took Ethan to check the surveillance equipment and fire safety measures. A single cafe had 20 cameras, completely covering every corner and key area. After verifying everything was correct, Ethan left the cafe with peace of mind and headed home. On the way back, Ethan specifically bought a large serving of pot stickers for Grace, figuring the girl definitely hadn't slept yet and would be starving by now. Sure enough, as soon as he returned to the neighborhood, he saw Grace sitting alone under a tree by the roadside, wrapped tightly in a scarf. Ethan's eyes twinkled. He crept up stealthily behind her, put down the pot stickers, and suddenly covered her eyes with his hands. He deepened his voice. Guess who? The sudden move startled Grace. Ethan was secretly pleased with himself, but a second later, he regretted his death wish. Grasa. Ugh. Ow. It hurts. Grace, it's me. Grace stared at Ethan, who was sprawled on the ground, and her eyes widened. Holy crap, it's you jerk. I thought it was some creep. Bastard. You scare me to death. Ethan, pinned to the ground, managed to turn his head and forced a bitter smile. Grace, could you get off me first? Grace smiled apologetically and let him go. Cough, sorry about that. Pure self-defense reflex. After speaking, she stuck out her little pink tongue playfully. Ethan climbed up from the ground, rubbing his shoulder, and laughed helplessly. Looks like I really can't play games like that with you in the future. It's lethal. Grace grabbed his ear and laughed. What, blaming me? Wasn't it you asking for it? Oh, yes, it was me. My bad. Ethan shouted quickly. Seeing him beg for mercy, Grace let go of his ear, pulled him onto the bench, and personally massaged his shoulders. How is it? Still hurt? Grace asked with some distress. Hurts. Hurts like hell. It hurts here, and here too. Ethan put on a pitiful look, grabbing her hand and moving it around his body. Here? Grace asked, confused, her hand on his stomach. No, lower. Is it here? Hey, no, a little lower. It hurts there. Here. Not there yet, lower. Yes, lower. Grace listened to him, her hand moving down slowly. Suddenly, her hand froze, and her cheeks turned as red as an apple. Ethan, forward. Her hand retracted as if shocked by electricity, and she glared at him fiercely. Huh? What? Why did you stop? Ethan pretended to be innocent, looking at her with wide, naive eyes. Grace's face was flushed with embarrassment and annoyance. She cracked her knuckles and gritted her teeth. Dear Mr. Ford, you're being very naughty. Seeing his plot exposed, Ethan quickly dodged to the side and raised his hand. Grace Miller, I'm warning you. A gentleman uses his words, not his fists. Grace rubbed her small fist, making a cracking sound, and threatened. Is that so? Unfortunately, I'm not a gentleman. Ethan put on a serious face. Look, we need to be civilized, set a new trend, be good citizens. I still suggest you use your mouth. Using your mouth is comfortable for you, and for me. Comfortable. Grace paused. It sounded weird, but she couldn't pinpoint exactly why. What is this jerk saying? This tone? Why does it feel a bit perverted? But she didn't intend to let him off that easily. Dear Mr. Ford, are you going to come over and die yourself, or should I catch you and then finish you off? Grace bared her teeth, ready to strike. Ethan raised both hands and shouted hurriedly. Stop. Grace, I brought you good food. Good food? Where? Hearing about food, Grace turned into a greedy cat instantly. Grumble. Her stomach reacted immediately. She really was hungry. Ethan picked up the takeout box of pot stickers and waved it in front of her eyes, smiling. Your favorite pork pot stickers. I want it. Give it to me, Grace shouted in surprise and reached out to grab it. But Ethan dodged and smiled. Hey, kiss me first. Kiss me, and I'll give it to you. Saying that, he leaned his cheek forward, waiting for Grace's kiss. But the next moment, a sharp pain shot from the soft flesh at his waist. Ow! Half a minute later, Grace sat under the tree, happily enjoying the pork pot stickers, while Ethan watched pitifully from the side. Seeing her eat so deliciously, he felt a bit hungry too. Grace, is it good? What flavor is it? Ethan pretended to ask curiously. Very fresh, very fragrant, very delicious. Grace glanced at him and answered, but seemed to have absolutely no intention of sharing. Cough, is that right? Actually, I don't really want to eat it. Really just asking. Ethan laughed dryly. Grace snickered inwardly, but pretended to realize something. Oh, I wanted to give you a taste, but since you don't want any, forget it. Don't. Give me a bite. Ethan, thick-skinned as ever, leaned his mouth over, opening wide like a baby sea lion waiting to be fed. Seeing his funny look, Grace burst out laughing. Okay, here. She scooped up a pot sticker, blew on it carefully to make sure Ethan wouldn't get burned. Once it wasn't too hot, she fed it into his mouth. How is it? Good, right? Grace asked with a smile. Ethan nodded and said seriously, delicious. It tastes even better because you fed me. Grace rolled her pretty eyes at him. Save it. Always so smooth-tongued. Although she said that, she scooped up another one, blew on it, and continued to feed him. You eat too. Don't let me finish it all, Ethan said dotingly. One for you, one for me. No fighting. Grace, since we were kids, have I ever won a fight against you? You overestimate me. True. You're very self-aware, you jerk. Is that a compliment? Of course. What else? By the way, Ethan, why are you back so late? I missed you. Deep in the night, under the dim streetlights, the two sat under the tree, sharing pot stickers bite by bite, whispering sweet nothings. Everything was so quiet and peaceful. Ethan leaned closely against her. Only by her side did he feel true peace and relaxation, like a merchant ship returning to a comfortable harbor after braving the wind and waves for so long. Here, there were no business ups and downs, no intrigues, no deception. The nerves in his brain were no longer taut. He relaxed completely. In this moment, he realized that sometimes he really depended on her gentleness, her cuteness, her presence. Only by her side could he find true peace and simple happiness. Grace. Ethan suddenly looked up at her. What's up? Grace asked, chewing on a pot sticker. In this life, you are not allowed to leave my side, Ethan said seriously. Grace paused. She suddenly felt that Ethan, in this moment, wasn't as strong and confident as usual. Okay. She nodded, her expression serious. But, Ethan, I finished the pot stickers. Are there any more? Ethan. An hour later, Ethan took her out of the neighborhood for a food run. Only after both their bellies were round did they return. When they got back to the door and were about to go to their respective homes, Grace pulled on her door handle. It was locked. She felt her pockets. No keys. What's wrong? Forgot your keys. Ethan turned back and asked. Grace nodded, her face falling. If I wake my parents up at this hour, I'll get lectured so hard. How about? They spoke in unison. Come to my place. Go to your place. Grace's pretty face turned red, and she pouted. Don't think too much. I'm just afraid of waking my parents. Ethan put on an act, smiling. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Really, I swear. Annoying, I don't believe you. Grace spat, but she still turned and ran over to hug his arm. Let's go, I'm a little sleepy. Ethan nodded seriously. Yes, I'm a little sleepy too. Grace shyly pinched the soft flesh at his waist and whispered, Tonight, don't even think about that. It's your house. If Uncle and Annie hear us, how awkward would that be? No problem, I swear. Ethan held up 4 fingers. But in his heart, he was thinking, the little white rabbit is entering the wolf's den. Would I let her go? Open the door quickly. Be careful not to wake your parents, Grace whispered. Ethan took out his key and opened the door. The two tiptoed into the house. It was pitch black inside. No lights were on. Very quiet. Ethan was about to turn on the light, but Grace grabbed his hand. Ethan, don't turn on the light. You'll wake Auntie. Grace lowered her voice, sounding a bit nervous. Ethan also lowered his voice. Little Grace, doing this. Why does it make me feel a little nervous and a little excited? In the darkness, Grace blushed and punched his chest lightly. Excited your big head. Ethan, Uncle and Annie are sleeping. You don't want to wake them up, right? Ethan paused. Why does that sound weird? Okay, no lights. Let's feel our way to the room. But be careful, don't kick the chair. Ethan reminded her. No problem. My night vision is great. People call me Super Owl. I definitely won't kick the chair, Grace said confidently. Hand in hand, they fumbled forward in the dark. They hadn't taken more than a few steps. Screech. A piercing sound of a chair dragging across the floor rang out. Oops, Grace gasped, quickly grabbing the chair in front of her. She tilted her ear to listen for movement from the inner room. Hearing no sound, implying Ethan's parents hadn't woken up, she breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, so this is the Super Owl, Ethan teased. Grace smiled awkwardly. Mistake, pure mistake. They finally managed to feel their way back to the room. Grace opened the door and immediately slipped inside. Once Ethan was in, she quickly closed the door. Few finally back in the room. She let out a genuine sigh of relief, smiling. Her heart really was feeling a sense of thrill. Ethan turned on the light. The light dispelled the darkness, revealing Grace's pretty face, pink cheeks, watery eyes, exuding a charming allure. After that night, Grace had transformed from a girl into a woman, shedding some of her innocence for a touch of maturity, making her even more captivating. Ethan, why are you staring at me? Grace blushed and glared at him. Because you're beautiful, Ethan said truthfully. Tisich, smooth talker, Grace said haughtily, but she was quite happy to be praised. Am I really that smooth? I don't know. Gotta test it to find out. Ethan grinned wickedly. Suddenly, he scooped her up and placed her on the bed, leaning over her. Ethan, what are you doing? Grace feigned reserve, pretending to struggle a couple of times, but her lips were already puckered, waiting to welcome him. Ethan, little Grace really is proactive. But, I like it. Grace squinted, tilting her head back, heart racing, but she felt like Ethan wasn't moving. What is this jerk waiting for? Is my signal not clear enough? Little Grace, here I come. Ethan chuckled low. Oh, don't you? What are you doing? Grace put on a shy look, but her arms had already wrapped around his neck. Ethan closed his eyes and slowly leaned in. Suddenly, Grace raised her hand to block his mouth. Ethan paused, asking in surprise, Grace, what's wrong? Grace blushed and whispered, I need to go to the bathroom. Drank a bit too much soda earlier. Ethan's mouth twitched. The small flame that had just sparked was instantly extinguished. Okay, go ahead. Grace scrambled up and tiptoed out the door. A moment later, she returned, her forehead hair slightly damp, as if she had washed her face. She lay back down on the bed, right in the same spot, and said seriously, "Okay, I'm ready. Ethan, why does it feel like we just unlocked some kind of interest or ability of Grace's?" "Okay, Grace, here I come," Ethan said with a straight face. They resumed their previous positions, as if the game had loaded a save file. Ethan closed his eyes and moved closer slowly. Grace suddenly spoke up. "Wait, keep it down." Ethan's eyes widened. "Shouldn't I be the one saying that to you?" Grace's cheeks turned even redder. She pouted. "Who's loud? You're the loudest." Grace Miller, are you questioning my ability?" Ethan was furious. "Watch how I handle you." Ethan was about to kiss her when Grace suddenly grabbed his shirt, flipped over, and pinned him underneath her instead. "He, Mr. Ford, who handles whom isn't decided yet." Grace's eyes shimmered, and she bit her lower lip lightly. Her look was filled with seductive charm. With that, she took a rubber band from her pocket and tied her long, dark hair into a ponytail, revealing her pale, sexy neck. Every move she made plucked at Ethan's heartstrings. The small flame that had been extinguished roared back into a raging fire. "Come on, let's fight. Little Grace, you will pay for your contempt. Ethan, bring out your full strength. Watch me take you down single-handedly. My kung fu is unrivaled. Why would I fear you?" Grace pulled the quilt over, covering them both inside. Just as the great battle was about to erupt, Grace suddenly said, "Stop. What is it now?" Ethan stuck his head out of the quilt, helpless. "It's too bright." "Haven't turned off the light," Grace said, blushing. "Hey, at this hour, my parents are definitely playing chess with the Sandman. It doesn't matter if the light is on." Ethan said seriously. "Ethan, turn it off anyway." Grace pouted and wheedled. Ethan smiled bitterly. Fine, I'll get the light." He immediately crawled out of the warm nest and ran to turn off the switch. Suddenly, he heard rustling sound from outside the door. Then came his mother, Mary Ford's voice. "Oh my, getting a late-night snack and shopping really wore me out. Is our son back? It's this late, he should be back." "Look, the light is on in his room," Frank Ford said. Ethan froze. "Holy crap, Mom and Dad weren't asleep at home. They just got back now." Grace heard the voices too. She bolted upright, looking at Ethan in shock. "Crap, Ethan, it sounds like Uncle and Annie are back. I thought they were asleep." Grace whispered, sitting frozen on the bed, her face tense. Seeing her like this, Ethan couldn't help but tease. "I'm not scared. What are you scared of? My parents are very open-minded." Grace's face turned beet red. She spat. "You think everyone has skin as thick as yours? Missile-proof, thick skin. So what do you want to do?" Ethan spread his hands. Grace shushed him. "Lights off, sleep." "All right, whatever you say." Ethan grinned wickedly, turned off the light, and crawled back into bed. At that moment, footsteps approached the door. "Son, are you asleep? I brought back some spicy wings. Do you want some?" Mary knocked on the door and asked softly, "MH, Mom, I'm sleepy. I want to eat." "You guys have it," Ethan replied. Outside the door, Mary tilted her head in confusion. Usually, if Ethan heard there was good food, he'd be up in a flash. Why was he so well-behaved today? Whatever, maybe he really is tired. She shook her head and walked to the living room, seeing Frank drinking water. "Son isn't eating. Put the stuff in the fridge. Save it for him tomorrow, and keep some for Grace, too." All right. You love those two the most. Don't even care about your husband." Frank laughed helplessly. "I walked around with you for so long tonight. Isn't that treating you well?" Mary rolled her eyes at him. "Frank, is shopping with a woman supposed to be my hobby? I was free labor." "Okay." He could only grumble inwardly, daring not to retort. He looked at the bags upon bags on the sofa. Pots, pans, household items. He had been carrying these things all night. Okay, I'll clean up and go rest." "You're tired. I'm more tired." Frank shook his head, put the takeout in the fridge, then went back to the room and collapsed onto the bed. Mary came in with a fresh towel and suddenly asked, "I heard Ethan went to the factory and persuaded the people to go back. Is that matter finished?" Frank sighed. "Hard to say. Our family is doing well now, so it doesn't matter much to us. But a lot of workers at the mill don't have a successful son like ours. Most are tightening their belts. If the acquisition deal isn't settled, they'll probably riot again. I wish I could help, but I'm powerless." Ethan opened those computer shops and made quite a bit, but I'm afraid even he can't do much about this. "At least George is okay in there. That's fortunate." Mary was a bit worried. "Yeah, There's really no way around it. Other factories have laid people off. I guess we can't escape it either. If Ethan hadn't made good money, we'd probably be a hardship case too. But speaking of which, that kid Ethan really has a knack for making money. Just a few days ago, he gave me several $1,000s, called it pocket money. How could I use that much pocket money? Does that kid think money isn't money? Even if he's rich, he can't spend it like this. I've saved most of what he gave me. Later, if he marries Grace, we'll need a house, right? And the wedding gifts and everything. Plenty of places to spend money. Frank listened and felt her words were drifting. He sat up and teased. Why are you talking about our son getting married? In such a rush to hold a grandson? Mary glared at him. What? You don't want to. I'm retired now. Besides busy work around the house, it's just watching TV and sleeping. Sometimes I feel empty inside, like something is missing. When I think about it, something really is missing. Missing a cute grandson. Ethan is successful now. Getting married early isn't a bad thing. Ideally, 2 kids in 3 years after marriage. Then I'd be even happier. Frank waved his hand and laughed. Come on, you can't rush this no matter how much you want to. Both kids are in college. Wait until at least their 3rd-year internship. Who has kids while in college these days? You just wait another 2 years. Frank's words popped Mary's little fantasy bubble, annoying her. You sure relaxed about it. With that, Mary threw down the towel, turned, and marched out of the room. Frank scratched his head, confused. What happened? Why did she get angry all of a sudden? A woman's heart. Truly impossible to understand. Inside Ethan's room, Grace was huddled under the quilt, just a small head poking out, motionless as a statue, as if afraid of making even the slightest noise. Little Grace, relax. No need to be nervous. Under the covers, Ethan wrapped his arms tightly around her, pulling her into his embrace. With warm, soft jade in his arms, Ethan's heart, previously doused, began to stir again. Grace wiggled and nuzzled in his arms, finding a comfortable position. She whispered, "It doesn't matter for you, but if Uncle and Annie find out, wouldn't I lose so much face? And how awkward would that be?" It doesn't matter. They came back so late tonight, they'll definitely sleep in. We just need to get up a bit earlier tomorrow. Ethan chuckled low, thinking the current Grace was very cute. True. Okay, then I'm going to sleep. Grace nodded and closed her eyes. The room fell into silence. A long while later. Ethan, are you asleep? Not yet. Can't sleep. Actually, I can't sleep either. Then how about we do something? What do you want to do? Do what we love to do, of course. Ethan pulled the quilt up, covering their heads. The quilt rolled, and the bedboards creaked under the strain. The next morning, just as the sky was turning a hazy gray, Grace slowly woke up. She yawned and rubbed her sleepy eyes, looking exhausted. It was really because last night was just too tiring. Just waking up, her consciousness was still blurry. She felt parched and wanted to go out for a glass of water. Listlessly, she got out of bed, put on Ethan's pajamas, threw a jacket over herself for warmth, stepped into Ethan's slippers, and opened the door. "I'm so sleepy." Grace yawned and rubbed her eyes as she walked to the coffee table in the living room, poured a glass of water, and drank. Just after taking a sip, she felt someone watching her. She turned her head and saw Mary standing there, holding a laundry pole frozen in place. "Morning, Auntie." Grace's head was heavy. Seeing Mary, she greeted her subconsciously. Mary's eyes went round with shock. Grace, morning. You. I'm so sleepy. Auntie, I'm going back to sleep." Grace yawned again, muttered a reply with her head drooping, and planned to go back to the room. But she had just turned and taken 2 steps, her leg midair for the 3rd, when suddenly her whole body froze. She turned completely to stone. She slowly turned her head and saw Mary. Their eyes met. In Mary's eyes, she saw a strange yet excited look. Dong! Grace was stunned, her mind blank. "I'm done for." Grace stood petrified, the air around her seemingly solidified. A bizarre and unexplained atmosphere flowed between the two of them. Right now, only one phrase occupied Grace's mind. Social death. It was too mortifying. She wished she could find a crack in the floor to crawl into, but looking around, there were no cracks. Helpless, Grace stammered with a red face. "Annie, morning." She had completely forgotten that she had already said hello just a moment ago. Mary squinted, looking her up and down, an excited smile appearing on her face. "Morning, Grace." Just from the clothes she was wearing, the shoes, and that messy hair, Mary had already guessed what was going on. This girl definitely spent the night here. "My son really has skills. Ha. Does that mean I'm not far from holding a grandson? Thank the Lord, Buddha, and all the gods." "Grace, did you Sleep well last night? Mary quickly put down the laundry pole and walked over to inspect her more closely, looking for clues. Grace was thin-skinned. Being scrutinized like this, she almost buried her head in her collar. Pretty good. Grace's pretty face was bright red as she replied with her head down. Mary had sharp eyes. At a glance, she noticed Grace's aura seemed slightly different, more mature. She instantly felt sure. Ha ha ha. Good sleep is good. Grace, rest a bit first. Annie will make breakfast for you, and then simmer some soup. You need to nourish yourself. Right. I'll make you some red date and black chicken soup. It nourishes Een and beauty, very good for you. And I heard eating black chicken is good for the womb, easy to get pre. Mary was speaking when she suddenly realized she almost slipped up and slammed on the brakes. Cough. Anyway, it's good for the body. Grace said guiltily. And no need to trouble yourself, Auntie. I'll eat breakfast outside later. With that, she turned and fled, wearing Ethan's big slippers flap, 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 trotting all the way back to the room. Seeing her like this, Mary beamed and teased. This child, why be so polite with me after all this? Changing how you address me sooner is fine too. Oh, right, I haven't bought a black chicken yet. I need to go to the market. Oh, and buy a turtle for my son to boost his vitality. Yes, got a boost. Both kids need a boost. Mary muttered to herself as she hurriedly went to the kitchen to grab her vegetable basket for the market. Wife, who were you talking to just now? We have a guest. Frank yawned as he walked out of the bedroom. Mary came out of the kitchen with the basket and waved at Frank, signaling him to come closer. She looked mysterious and excited, as if she had a huge secret she couldn't wait to share. What is it? Frank was clueless, walking up to her with a confused look. It's Grace. Mary lowered her voice, excited. Grace? She came over this early? That's too ear. What? Frank's expression changed as he realized something. Mary pinched his arm and whispered, Dummy, Grace spent the night at our house. In our son's room. Huh, really? Frank was shocked. He didn't expect Ethan to be bold enough to bring Grace home for the night. And he certainly didn't expect Grace actually stayed. These two kids really don't shy away from anything. Mary rolled her eyes at him. I saw it with my own eyes just now. Could it be fake? TSK, say, am I getting ready to hold a grandson? Huh. Amidst a shock, Frank sighed with emotion. Yeah, maybe your wish will come true soon. But it's good. We watch these two grow up. If they can tie the knot, that would be the best. Mary waved her hand and laughed. All right, enough talking to you. I have to go to the market to buy groceries and make them some soup. Build them up. What? Soup first thing in the morning? Frank asked, astonished. Of course. Drinking plenty of soup is good for the body. Mary said matter-of-factly. As she spoke, she turned to leave, not forgetting to instruct him before stepping out. Old man, remember to cook some yam and meat oatmeal later. Put in extra meat. Frank stood there dumbfounded. This treatment. It's really good. Why didn't I ever get treatment like this back in the day? In the room, Grace curled up under the quilt, tossing and turning, her heart racing, completely unable to calm down. Just now was literal social death. What do I do? She covered her head with the quilt in embarrassment. Thinking about getting up and facing Ethan's parents later made her head spin. Ethan was woken up by her. He rubbed his eyes and asked groggily, Grace, why are you up so early? Truly, having good stamina is different. Grace's cheeks flushed. She reached into the quilt and placed her icy cold hand on his waist. Hiss! Ow! Ethan felt like he had been frozen by a block of ice. His whole body shuddered, and sleep instantly vanished. Ouchie, what are you doing? Ethan sat up immediately, wrapping the quilt tightly around himself to prevent another surprise attack from Grace. The thrill of being frozen by someone else's hand in winter was something many had experienced. That sudden icy shock really could wake someone up instantly. Grace pouted haughtily. That's for teasing me. Ethan, I have something very serious to tell you. Ethan's eyes widened. Something very serious. Could it be you really are pregnant? Grace glared at him with her beautiful eyes. Oh, no. I just went out to drink water and bumped into Auntie. Did you know, Ethan? So, and then, Grace said with annoyance, what? You don't know how mortifying it was. And I found that the way Annie looked at me was wrong. Very wrong. Ethan asked curiously, Wrong how? I can't explain it. Just kind of weird and a little excited. Grace pondered. Ethan teased. She probably wants to hold a grandson. I can already imagine her face. Is that it? Grace paused. Then realizing something, she spat. I don't want it this soon. Ethan lifted the quilt, went over to hug her, and smiled. Who can say with these things? It's all fate. Maybe we hit the jackpot this time. Grace. Jackpot. Jackpot your big head. Grace blushed crimson and reached out with her icy little hand. Ow, ow, ow. Grace Miller, I'm warning you. Stop using magic attacks on me. Ethan let go of her and wrapped the quilt tightly around himself again, looking at her warily. Fine, no magic attacks. Physical ones then. Grace rubbed her knuckles. With that, she threw off the covers and dove in. Ow. Grace, you're for real. I'll fight you. Ethan Ford, I'll teach you to say jackpot. Let's see how this lady handles you. Hey. Hands are fine, but stop bullying my little brother. Sorry, I just grabbed the wrong thing by accident. Grace, do you hear yourself? No, that was the whisper of a demon. The two turned the world upside down under the covers, playing and wrestling. Outside the door, Frank had just put rice in the pot for oatmeal and was about to go wash up. Passing Ethan's room, he heard the bedboards creaking wildly inside and froze. My God, these two kids are going at it in broad daylight, too. It's good to be young. This is good. Grandson coming soon. Frank shook his head and turned into the bathroom. An hour later, Ethan got up and dressed while Grace sat on the edge of the bed, tying her hair. He glanced back at the youthful and lovely Grace. From the side, she seemed to have developed again. It shouldn't be an illusion, because the hand field doesn't lie. Little Grace has grown too. Congratulations. Ouch. Why am my lower back a bit sore? Ethan rubbed his old waist, secretly lamenting. Am I really this weak? Thankfully, he held back during the play fighting earlier. Otherwise, he wouldn't be getting out of bed before noon. Ethan, why are you staring at me? Grace turned and asked casually. Cough, nothing. Just reflecting on how the ancient poets never lied. Ethan smiled. Grace thought he was about to praise her again and asked quickly, what poem? Praising my beauty. You could say that. The line goes, a range when viewed horizontally, a peak from the side, far, near, high, low, each view distinct. Ethan said with a straight face. Grace paused, then looked down at herself, understanding exactly what he meant. Ethan Ford, you're very poetic, aren't you? Ow. Grace went over and pinched the soft flesh at his waist, her cheeks blushing like red apples. Ethan chuckled. He just loved seeing her like this. Although Grace was bold, she was thin-skinned. A little teasing made her blush, and that shy look was truly cute. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Son, Grace, are you up? I made breakfast, and the soup is simmering. Come eat breakfast, and then have soup. Mary's voice came from outside. Ethan smiled and replied, We're up, Mom. We'll be out in a sec. He felt zero psychological pressure. They were adults. Bringing a girlfriend home for the night was normal, right? But he understood that for a girl, there was still some pressure, and it was definitely embarrassing. He turned back, held Grace's hand, and comforted her. Grace, thicken up that skin. As long as you aren't awkward, the awkward ones are everyone else. Grace. Annoying, is that how you comfort people? Same meaning basically. Ethan said brazenly. Let's go. No matter what, the ugly daughter-in-law has to meet the in-laws. Grace rolled her eyes at him. Ethan, you're the ugly daughter-in-law. Despite saying that, she let Ethan hold her hand as they went out. Hand in hand, they came to the living room and saw Frank watching TV on the sofa. Dad, morning. Morning, Uncle. Grace hid behind Ethan like a little wife, greeting him timidly. Seeing them, Frank said kindly, You're up. Are you hungry? Your mom made breakfast. Go eat plenty. You bet. But we'll go wash up first, Ethan said naturally, not feeling embarrassed at all. Mary came out of the kitchen, wearing an apron and beaming. Grace, go wash up quickly. I made the sweet and sour ribs you like. Thanks, Annie. Grace was delighted to hear about good food. Ethan smacked his lips and asked, Mom, what about mine? Did you make the rice noodle rolls I like? Oh, I forgot to buy them. If you want them, go buy them yourself. Mary said bluntly. Ethan. Hey, Mom, don't double stand her like this. Truly, once there's a daughter-in-law, the son is forgotten. Ethan sheepishly took Grace to wash up. After washing, they sat at the dining table. Seeing Mary busy in the kitchen, Grace asked obediently, Auntie, do you need help? Grace is so good. No need, you just sit. I'm done cooking. Mary turned around and gave her an extremely benevolent smile. That intimacy gave Ethan goosebumps. Cough, Mom. I'll have some oatmeal first. Where is it? Ethan rubbed his flat belly. Mary brought out a big bowl of yam and meat oatmeal, placed it in front of Grace, then turned and glared at Ethan. The oatmeal is in the kitchen. Where else would it be? On my head. After snapping at Ethan, Mary turned back to Grace with a kind smile. Hey, Grace, eat up. I'll get you more when you're done. Come on, eat while it's hot. Thanks, Annie, this is plenty for me. Grace said politely. Oh, how can that be enough? Eat more to gain some weight. Look at you, you've gotten thinner. Eat more? Who knows? Maybe you're eating for two, Mary said with a face full of smiles. Huh? Eating for two? Grace froze. Mary realized she misspoke and quickly said, No, nothing. Grace, eat quickly. I'll bring out the ribs. Ethan watched Mary bring out dishes from the kitchen one by one. 5 dishes in total. It was richer than dinner, like a festival feast, and all of them were Grace's favorites. Ethan smiled bitterly. Mom, no need for this. It's not a holiday today. And why are they all Grace's favorites? Where's mine? Mary brought out the herbal black chicken soup, rolled her eyes at him, and said with disdain, all right, I'll make yours another day. Ethan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mom, am I your biological son? Frank walked over and whispered to him, Son, just be glad there's food. Don't fuss. The family sat down. Mary kept putting food into Grace's empty bowl. Come, Grace, eat more meat. Grace, have some black chicken too, it's nourishing. Grace, try this lettuce, is it tender? In no time, Ethan watched the empty bowl pile up into a small mountain. He was stunned. Growing up, he never got this treatment. Feeling Mary's care, Grace felt warm inside and said sweetly, Thanks, Auntie. This is enough for me. Mary grinned from ear to ear, dotingly saying, We're all family. No need for thanks. Grace, whatever you like to eat in the future, just tell Annie, and Annie will make it for you. Okay. Grace nodded and shoveled oatmeal into her mouth. Suddenly, Grace covered her mouth, looking like she wanted to vomit. Seeing this, Mary was surprised and delighted. She shot up. Grace, are you okay? Immediately, she turned to look at Frank and asked excitedly, Old man, what year is it next year? What's the zodiac sign? A zodiac? I don't know. Frank looked bewildered, not knowing why Mary would suddenly ask about next year's zodiac. He wasn't a fortune teller. Who remembers that? You don't know? Asking you is useless. Mary grumbled, then turned to Grace with concern. Grace, how are you? Is it serious? Do you want to go to the hospital? Should we go for a checkup? What if it's twins? Ethan nearly sprayed his soup. Mom, what twins? Where's your mind going? Mary knew she let slip her thoughts and laughed dryly. I was just saying. Grace coughed dryly, blushing. Auntie, you might be overthinking it. I just ate too fast and choked on the oatmeal. Is that so? Mary paused, her tone carrying a hint of regret. Frank laughed helplessly. See, you're rushing it yourself. The kids aren't even in a rush. Mary glared at him, then smiled awkwardly at Grace. Grace, eat slowly then. No ruse, eat slowly. Grace nodded obediently, face red, silently eating her oatmeal. This meal was delicious, but also a bit of an ordeal. She felt Mary's gaze drifting toward her stomach every now and then, which gave her some pressure. Finishing breakfast quickly, Grace dragged Ethan out to leave. Downstairs, Grace burped and pouted. Ethan, is Annie hoping I'm pregnant? What do you think? It's pretty obvious, Ethan laughed. Oh my, urging for babies already? It really is a happy burden, Grace sighed. Ethan leaned in front of her face and smiled. So, that means you really want to? Then I'll work harder. Annoying you're the one who wants to. Grace's little fists rained down on his chest. Ethan hugged her and teased. Hey, twins in one go would be best. Done in one shot. Don't say that anymore. I still have so many dreams to achieve. If I get pregnant, what will I do? Grace tilted her head up stubbornly. That's easy. I'll help you achieve them all ahead of schedule. Won't that work? Ethan said. Grace felt sweet inside. She glanced at him and smiled. Here, you said it. Of course. Ethan patted her head dotingly. Count yourself sensible. All right, let's go to school. Gotta step up rehearsals. Grace spun around, smiling like a happy butterfly. Then she linked arms with Ethan, and they walked side by side, chatting and laughing, their laughter echoing in the neighborhood. Days passed in a calm and happy life. In the blink of an eye, half a month went by. Approaching finals, the Illinois Tech campus was much quieter. Most people were either in the library or in their dorms studying, nervously preparing for exams. Ethan didn't have these worries. He was currently in his dorm, sitting in front of his computer browsing company emails. The textbook knowledge was simple for him. The main courses for computer science were just programming, which he knew inside out, so he didn't review much. His free time was mostly spent handling group company work. Boss, your lunch delivery is here. Please sign. Sam Tucker appeared at the dorm door, holding a lunchbox, grinning. Thanks, Sam. Ethan looked up and smiled. Sam put the lunchbox on his desk and leaned his head over, asking curiously, "What are you working on, boss?" "Nothing much, just reviewing the annual reports from the group's subsidiaries." Ethan kept his eyes on the screen. Suddenly, he turned to Sam. "By the way, Sam, how are the local warehouse and logistics plans coming along? Finals are coming up. You can put the work aside for now and finish it after exams." He was worried Sam would neglect his exams for work. Failing a class wouldn't look good when he went home for the holidays, and he was also worried Sam was getting too tired. "Boss, I've finished the preliminary plan. I'll send it to you in a bit." "Huh, don't worry about me. I'll definitely pass the exams, and I won't drop the ball on work." Sam scratched his head and chuckled honestly. Ethan saw the dark circles under his eyes. The guy clearly hadn't slept much in days. He was a workaholic, risking his life for the job. "I'll look at it in a couple of days. Your task right now is to rest well and review for your classes." Ethan laughed helplessly. Okay." Sam felt warm inside and nodded. The reason he worked so hard was mainly out of gratitude to Ethan for giving him this precious opportunity. He didn't want to miss it, and he wanted to repay Ethan's mentorship. Westford Group was investing in building local warehouses in Chicago and a self-built logistics system in first-tier cities. This was a massive project. Being able to participate in such a large engineering project was an invaluable experience for him. His plan would be referenced along with other group company plans. Once a final plan was determined, if it used the operational model he designed, he could continue to be involved. For this job, he hadn't hesitated to pester logistics professors and read countless related books to enrich his knowledge base. He was going all out. He didn't want to leave any regrets. "Boss, you eat. I'm going to study." Sam grinned and went back to his seat to review. "Yeah, go ahead." Ethan smiled, opened the lunchbox, and ate. Not much food. 2 meats, 1 veggie, $2.50. Not a feast, but enough to fill the belly. Ethan was never picky about food. Having been poor, anything tasted good. In no time, Ethan polished off the lunchbox. He was preparing to continue working when his phone rang. It was Grace. He answered, "What's up, Grace? Miss me already?" "Yeah, you have a big ego." Grace's giggle came from the other end. "Ethan, can you go shopping with me tonight? I want to buy some warm leggings. It's been too cold lately. Shivering isn't enough to keep warm in the dorm anymore, and my laundry won't dry." "Sure, I'll take you to the night market tonight," Ethan replied. After the winter solstice, Chicago got cold. It was that damp, bone-chilling cold, magic damage. Without thermal wear, relying on inner strength was useless. "Then it's a date. See you tonight." Grace blew a kiss and hung up. Night, University District Night Market. There weren't many people shopping tonight. Pedestrians were scarce. Only the lights in front of the vendor stalls were on, making business look a bit desolate. Ethan and Grace held hands, leaning on each other as they strolled down the street. So few people tonight. Grace shrank her neck in her scarf and looked around. Exams are coming up. Besides, in this freezing weather, not many people want to be out shopping, Ethan said, rubbing his hands and breathing out a cloud of white mist. Compared to the physical attack of the north, the magic attack of this damp cold was indefensible. No matter how many layers you wore, it felt useless. As they passed the entrance to the bar street, they suddenly heard a commotion. Instinctively looking over, they saw a group of young men shoving a person out of a bar, cursing and beating him. Ethan watched this scene, secretly lamenting the chaotic times. Before strict enforcement, the city's security was poor. Fights happened all over the city every day. Why does the guy getting beaten look familiar? Grace stopped and pointed. "Ethan, does that guy inside look like Luke Brooks?" Ethan looked closely and was stunned. "Look like? That is Luke Brooks." "Screw you. What do you mean? You spilled on my bro's clothes and think you can just walk away?" A blonde thug grabbed Luke Brooks by the hair and snarled viciously. Luke reeked of alcohol, his eyes glazed over. He couldn't even stand steady. Let go. I apologized. What else do you want?" "What else?" "Pay up. My bro's outfit is a brand name. Armani, you know. Pay up now." The blonde demanded fiercely. Four other young punks stood by, laughing as they looked at Luke like a lamb to the slaughter. A drunk like this was the perfect target. Intoxicated and defenseless, they could extort as much as they wanted. "How much?" Luke didn't resist, hiccuping as he asked. 5,000. The blonde held up 5 fingers, asking for an exorbitant amount. Luke pulled out his wallet, threw $500 bills at them, and turned to leave. "Fuck, you playing me?" The blonde slapped him with his open palm. Smack. The slap landed solid on Luke's face, sending him crashing heavily to the ground. But Luke didn't make a sound. He just tried to get up and leave. The blonde and his crew weren't about to let him go. They grabbed him, punching and kicking. Street vendors nearby were startled and backed away, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. Luke was kicked down again, crashing right into a flower stall selling roses, knocking over quite a few flowers. The blonde and his crew ferociously kicked the obstructing roses aside, hauled Luke up from the ground, and cursed, "Fuck, pay up. Where you're crawling out of here today." Luke's eyes were empty, and he remained silent, as if he had lost interest in everything in the world. Suddenly, a flat-top youth with dark skin standing nearby spoke in a buzzing voice. "You stepped on my flowers." The blonde glared sideways at the flat-top youth. "Fuck, so I stepped on them. You got a problem." The flat-top youth clenched his fists, silent, but his eyes were burning with anger, clearly trying his best to restrain himself. "Hey, Luke Brooks, you're pretty pathetic." Suddenly, an indifferent voice sounded beside them. Hearing this voice, Luke's brow twitched. He turned his head and saw the arrival. Ethan Ford. Ethan stood with his hands in his pockets, looking at him calmly. "The you right now isn't the Luke Brooks I know. The Luke I know at least hit back if he got hit. Even if he couldn't win, he'd swing. A man who loses the fight, but not his spine." Luke smiled miserably. "Yeah, are you here to laugh at me?" "Yeah, you really are a joke right now." Ethan nodded. Seeing that these two were ignoring them and chatting, the blonde was furious. "Fuck, kid, none of your business. I advise you not to meddle, or we'll wreck you too." Ethan ignored the blonde completely, continuing to stare at Luke. "Luke, remember when we were 8 and got into that fight with the class next door?" Before his voice even faded, Ethan suddenly lashed out with a kick, striking the blonde right in the crotch. "Ow!" The blonde's scream echoed through the street. The onlookers all felt a phantom chill in their groins. This young man is ruthless. Taking the opening, Luke delivered an elbow strike to the blonde's head. The combo instantly dropped the blonde to the ground, unable to get up. The kick and elbow were timed perfectly. With the blonde down, his 4 accomplices reacted, grabbing flower pots from the nearby stall to swing at the 2 of them. Luke was too drunk to react quickly. He watched helplessly as a guy swung a pot toward him. Just as the pot was about to smash his head, he closed his eyes, waiting for the blood. Bam! A muffled thud. He didn't feel the expected pain. Opening his eyes, he saw a figure blocking in front of him. It was Ethan. Ethan had kicked the thug away. "Sober the hell up. We're in a fight," Ethan shouted, then dodged another incoming flower pot. Luke was stunned, shaken to his core. He never expected Ethan to shield him so recklessly. Suddenly, a folding chair came flying at Ethan from the side. Ethan saw it, but he couldn't dodge. He could only raise his arm to cover his head and take the hit. In that split second, a leg appeared in his field of vision, intercepting the chair. Crack! The chair was shattered into pieces by the kick. The crowd was instantly stunned by the power of that kick. Ethan looked over in surprise. The person who had just kicked the chair apart was the dark-skinned, flat-top youth in the gray-green jacket. Bam! The youth punched out, fast as lightning, hitting the chair-wielding thug on the chin. The punch was so fast it was almost invisible to the naked eye. The thug was knocked out cold instantly. Shit! The thug holding the flower pot threw it at the flat-top youth. Smash! The youth raised his leg in a sweeping kick, shattering the incoming pot in midair. Holy crap! Gasps erupted from the surrounding crowd. The remaining 2 thugs were scared witless. This guy's skills are unreal. Not an opponent. Terrified, the 2 thugs turned and fled. But 3 of their accomplices were still on the ground. The blonde lay there, intimidated by the fierce aura of the flat-top youth, pale-faced and afraid to move. "Pay for my money." The flat-top youth squatted down and held out his hand. Trembling, the blonde pulled out all his money, a handful of loose change, barely over $100. The youth took the money, counted it, threw $12 back at him, and then silently stood up to gather the scattered roses on the ground. Ethan recovered from his shock and said gratefully to the youth, "Thanks, brother. What do I call you?" The flat-top youth focused on picking up the roses, not even turning his head. Wes Sterling. Wyatt Steele picked up the remaining dozen intact roses from the ground and wrapped them in the tarp he used for his street stall, preparing to leave. "Hold on," Ethan called out suddenly. Wyatt turned, looking at Ethan with confusion. "Something wrong?" Ethan pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it over with both hands. "I owe you one for today. If you ever need anything, give me a call. I am Ethan Fort. This is my card." Wyatt looked at the card, hesitation visible on his face. He didn't know if he should take it. He wasn't the type who expected rewards for doing the right thing. Ethan read his mind and smiled. Just consider it making a friend. Seeing the sincerity in Ethan's expression, Wyatt took the card, stuffed it into his pocket without looking at it, and turned to leave. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. The guy had a strange personality, socially awkward and straight shooting. But there was nothing wrong with that. It was certainly better than dealing with two-faced hypocrites. The man had incredible skills, and his bearing suggested a military background. How did someone like that end up selling flowers on the street? Watching Wyatt's retreating figure, Ethan definitely felt the urge to recruit him. He would be a talent for the security company, but with someone of that temperament, you couldn't rush things. They had walls up against everything and wouldn't trust others easily. You jerk, are you okay? Grace Miller ran over with 2 police officers, her face full of worry. Ethan had deliberately sent her away to get the police to keep her out of the fray. Once a fight started, anything could happen, and he didn't want her in danger. Don't worry, I'm fine. You know average punks can't touch me, Ethan said, feigning ease. In reality, if Wyatt hadn't stepped in, he would have been walking away with a few bruises at the very least. Oh, save it. Like I don't know exactly what you're capable of. Next time, you are not allowed to trick me into leaving. In a fight, I'm worth 3 of you. Grace glared at him, puffing out her cheeks. All right. Next time I'll let you handle it. Okay? Ethan laughed helplessly. The 2 officers questioned him briefly, then took the 3 thugs away, asking Ethan and Luke Brooks to come to the station to give statements. By the time they finished the paperwork and left the precinct, it was already 11:00 p.m. Luke Brooks had sobered up considerably. Walking out of the station doors, he whispered to Ethan, "Thanks." He knew that, without Ethan today, he probably would have been beaten into a hospital bed. You should thank me. I accept. Ethan smiled faintly. Why? Why help me? Luke looked up at him, confusion in his eyes. I'm the main character, and he's my rival. Why would he save me? Because you're Lawrence Brooks's son. We grew up together. We used to be friends. Is that reason enough? Ethan shrugged. Luke was shaken. He hadn't expected Ethan to remember their childhood friendship. Grace walked over and smacked the back of his head. Luke Brooks, wake up. You walk around like a zombie all day, and now you're getting drunk? Impressive. Watch it, or I'll tell your dad. Luke shrank back, covering his head, not daring to resist. He had never dared to hit back when Grace bullied him growing up. He pleaded, Please don't tell my dad. He'll kill me. Grace glared at him sternly. If you don't want to tell him, then focus on your studies and stop messing around. If you fail your classes, you're going to have a miserable Christmas break. Luke looked like he wanted to cry. Okay, I get it. Just don't tell my dad. Ethan shook his head. When would this guy grow up? Luke, this is the last time. Next time, I'm letting Uncle Lawrence come pick you up. Fine. Stop lecturing me, you two. Give me some face. I'm a chosen one, remember? Luke grumbled, unconvinced. Grace immediately flicked his forehead. Ow, Grace, why'd you hit me again? Chosen one? Chosen for what? Have you seen yourself in a mirror lately? Grace rolled her eyes at him. It's all because of you guys, he rubbed his head, muttering. The reason he was drinking was that he had completely despaired of pursuing Grace. Every time he thought about it, it hurt, and alcohol was the only anesthetic. Stop thinking about it. In this life, the next life, and the life after that, Grace is taken. By me, Ethan said, pulling Grace into a hug to show off. Luke felt like an arrow had pierced his heart. Pain, agony. But after the last incident, he had come to terms with it. Since Grace had chosen Ethan, that was a fact. He wasn't going to force a pursuit where he couldn't find happiness. Happiness couldn't be forced. He took a deep breath and said with utmost seriousness, Ethan, since Grace chose you, I'll step back. But I hope you protect her and make her happy. If you treat her badly or make her cry, I won't let you off. I hope you take good care of her for me. Ethan, is your main character syndrome flaring up again? What do you mean for you? You're just asking for a beating. Ethan was exasperated and amused. Grace laughed too, raising her leg as if to kick him. Luke quickly dodged, jumping far away. Anyway, I've said my piece. Ethan, I owe you for today, but business is business. I mean what I say. Luke turned to Grace, looking earnest. Grace, I'm leaving. You have to be happy, okay? If this guy bullies you, tell me. If he can't protect you, I'll spread my wings for you. Grace twitched her lip, speechless. Wings? Or are you a birdman? Are you itching for a beating? Seeing her check her fist, Luke scrambled further away. All right. I don't want to stand here eating dog food while you two flirt. I'm out. Afraid of getting hit, he turned and ran. Ethan watched his pathetic retreat and laughed helplessly. That guy is still so dramatic. But at least he has some self-awareness now. He won't object to us dating anymore. Consider the grudge settled. Uncle Lawrence must have a headache dealing with him. Grace shook her head. Ethan chuckled. He's not a bad person, really. He just hasn't been beaten down by society yet. Buffed, if it weren't for Uncle Lawrence, I wouldn't bother with him. Grace pouted. The reason Ethan helped was largely because the elders of the three families were close. Luke's father, Lawrence Brooks, had once been a great benefactor to both the Miller and Ford families. All right, you jerk, let's stop talking about him. It's getting late, let's go back. We'll have to buy the thermal underwear tomorrow. Grace smiled sweetly, linking her arm with Ethan's. Okay, let's go. Ethan patted her head. After walking Grace back to the girls' dorm, Ethan was about to return to his own dorm when his phone rang. He picked it up. It was Henry Payne. Hello. Henry, what's up? Ethan, something happened at the Internet Cafe. Late night, West Ford Gaming, University District. A crowd had gathered outside the Internet Cafe, but no one dared to get too close. The air was thick with murmurs. Hey man, what's going on inside? Why is everyone running out? Someone's causing trouble in there. Don't go in, you don't want to get involved. No way, someone's messing with a place this big. Who knows? I was planning to pull an all-nighter. Looks like that's a bust. Some customers tried to enter, but two young men wearing drop-crotch jeans and smoking cigarettes were squatting at the door. They glared at anyone approaching, sending the customers scurrying away in fear. Inside, the rows of computers were empty. Many monitors were still on, but the users were gone. About 30 people were inside, not using the computers, just sitting in the lobby smoking and messing around. Hey, waiter, give me a Coke. Where the hell is everyone? A young man wearing a skull necklace shouted, his legs crossed arrogantly on a table. The cafe staff were huddled behind the counter, afraid to answer. Looking at this group of thugs, anyone would be scared. These people had come in looking for trouble, beaten two customers, and scared everyone else off. With these play gods here, no new customers dared to enter. Business was dead. Hurry up. Stop stalling. Damn it. The skull necklace youth kicked a chair and cursed. The gang of punks behind him immediately started making noise, banging on tables, kicking computer towers, and slamming keyboards. And Mr. Payne, what do we do? A middle-aged supervisor asked in a low voice from behind the counter. Henry Payne's face was grim. You guys stay here. I'll go. Henry took a bottle of Coke from the cooler, walked over alone, and placed it on the table in front of Skull Necklace. Your Coke. Skull Necklace picked up the bottle, opened it, then suddenly feigned surprise. Oh my God, why is this Coke cold? I forgot, my stomach is bad. I can't drink cold stuff. Come on, man, I want it room temperature. Go change it for me. Henry frowned. This guy was obviously looking for a fight, but to prevent the situation from escalating, he tried his best to suppress his anger. Fine, I'll get you a new one. Skull Necklace lifted the Coke. Just as Henry reached out to take it, the thug suddenly let go. The bottle smashed onto the floor with a clack, splashing soda everywhere. Oops, I handed it to you, man. Why didn't you catch it? Can't blame me for that. Skull Necklace spread his hands in a gesture of helplessness, but his eyes were full of mockery. He was clearly toying with Henry. Hey, you didn't hold it steady and got my shoes all dirty. Clean them up for me. Or, licking them clean works too. Skull Necklace lifted his greasy leg onto the computer desk, gesturing for Henry to clean the soda off his shoe. You scumbags, you're doing this on purpose. A young attendant couldn't stand seeing Henry humiliated and rushed out from behind the counter, furious. Screw you, you little punk, what's it to you? A thug in black stood up and shoved him. The young attendant had a fiery temper too. After being shoved, he wanted to rush up and fight, but Henry suddenly grabbed him. Calm down, Henry whispered. Henry knew these people were here to provoke a fight. If a brawl started, they would take the opportunity to smash the machines. Westford Gaming would be out of business for at least 2 or 3 months. Even if they went to the police later between the investigation and determining liability, it would take at least half a year, not to mention the uncertainty of getting any compensation. These people had clearly planned this. They didn't care about committing minor offenses. They wanted to see Henry fight back. That would just lead to endless bureaucratic red tape. The old Henry might have thrown the first punch, but after going through so much, he had matured. He knew how to think calmly, how to exercise restraint and endurance. Getting provoked into a fight would be falling right into their trap. Henry swept his gaze over them and said coldly, I can see you aren't here to surf the web. Speak up. Which crew are you with? Skull Necklace stood up, hands in his pockets, arrogant. I'm Hightower from the University District. Never heard of me. Your cafe is pretty bold. Opening up here without saying hello. Did you get permission from Boss Cross and Mr. Frost? Huh. Hightower kicked the computer desk, nearly flipping it over. Hearing the commotion, the Westford employees thought a fight had started and rushed over. 7 or 8 guys ran to Henry's side. Hightower's men all stood up as well. Both sides glared at each other, the atmosphere instantly freezing. The scene was like a powder keg. A single spark would set it off. Boss Cross, you're Damien Cross's men. Henry's face grew even colder. Damian Cross was really making his move. Damian's men had once hacked Henry deeply with knives. Later, Ethan used his connection with Victor the Reaper, Vane, to have Camel personally cripple those attackers, avenging him. With Damian's vindictive personality, he certainly wouldn't let it go. Plus, Westford Gaming was in the University District in direct competition with Damian's internet cafes. No wonder this was happening tonight. Little punk, I advise you to obediently close this place down. Some businesses you just shouldn't touch, understand? Otherwise, I'll bring the boys to take care of your business every few days. You dare? Henry raised an eyebrow and shouted. Screw you, what wouldn't I dare do? Hightower poked him in the chest, glaring. The room was deathly silent. The smell of gunpowder was thick. Well, isn't it lively in here tonight? Suddenly, a cool voice rang out. Everyone turned to look. A refined young man was walking in briskly. Ethan, Henry shouted excitedly. Mr. Ford, Mr. Ford, you're here. Hello, Mr. Ford. The cafe staff greeted him one after another. Ethan looked calm. He walked quickly to Henry's side and smiled. Henry, you did good. He had rushed over immediately after receiving Henry's call. On the phone, he had instructed Henry not to fight unless absolutely necessary. Once a fight started, it could be dangerous. The machines were secondary. He was worried about people getting hurt. He hadn't expected Henry to actually hold back and prevent the situation from escalating. This was significant progress for Henry, and Ethan felt very relieved. Ethan, these guys are here specifically to cause trouble. They're Damian Cross's men, Henry whispered. Yeah, I know. Ethan nodded, his expression unchanged. He turned to look at Hightower and said coldly, You go back and tell Damian Cross that since he wants to play, I'll play with him until the end. But if you want to start something today, then none of you are walking out of here. As soon as his voice fell, a rush of heavy footsteps sounded from the entrance. More than 20 people swarmed in, all dressed in black. The leader was built like an iron tower, radiating a fierce aura with a notably large head. It was Victor Vane's right-hand man, Big Ed. Mr. Ford, which little punk needs a lesson? Big Ed led his group over, his voice booming. Seeing this group appear, Hightower's expression changed slightly, especially upon seeing Big Ed. There was a look of apprehension in his eyes. Big Ed, I advise you to stay the hell out of this. Don't think just because you follow Victor Vane that you're invincible. Hightower cursed loudly. Big Ed walked straight up to him. He was a full head taller than Hightower, staring down at him with immense pressure. Who the hell are you? FCK. Hightower cursed, grabbed a keyboard from the table, and yanked it hard, snapping the cord. Hightower, hold on. Suddenly, a lazy voice sounded from behind the crowd. The thugs parted to the sides, making a path. A middle-aged man in a suit and leather shoes appeared behind everyone and walked to the front. Boss Frost. Hightower took a step back, retreating behind the middle-aged man, his attitude respectful. Ethan sized up the man in front of him. Crew cut, brown glasses, suit pressed crisp. He looked like a businessman. The middle-aged man was also sizing up Ethan, his eyes strange, holding a hint of mockery. So you're Ethan Ford. Nice to meet you. I'm Quentin Frost. The middle-aged man introduced himself slowly, with a smile. Nothing nice about it, Ethan said calmly. Quentin Frost adjusted his cuffs, not annoyed. He smiled. Boss Cross hopes that the University District will only have his internet cafes. You understand, right? I don't, Ethan scoffed. Quentin shrugged. Oh, seems you're still too young. Your comprehension skills are a bit lacking. But that's okay. I'll make you understand slowly. Ethan Ford, when I was running the University District, you were probably still learning your ABCs. Some businesses you'd best not touch. Don't think Victor Vane can still protect you. He can't even protect himself right now. What's he going to cover you with? This scrap. Quentin glanced at Big Ed and his crew without a hint of fear. In fact, there was a faint tone of provocation. Quentin put his hands in his pockets, took a step forward, walked up to Ethan's face, and smiled. Young man, you need to understand one thing. There can only be one boss in the University District, and that's me, Quentin Frost. Kid, the University District isn't a place for you to play gangster, understand? Quentin pushed up his glasses, a ruthless glint flashing in his eyes. Ethan's expression didn't change. He replied coldly, Where I operate isn't up to you to dictate. You don't have the qualifications. Qualifications? Of course I have the qualifications. Quentin raised his hand without turning his head. Brothers, am I right? Yeah. The 30-odd men behind Quentin shouted in unison. Ethan Ford, these are my qualifications. Enough. Don't worry, my qualifications are enough to make you history. Quentin leaned in half an inch closer, his sinister eyes staring at Ethan, and whispered, "Going against me against Boss Cross. Be careful when you step out the door. You could be toasted at any moment." In their slang, toasted meant dead. It was a naked threat. Ethan didn't back down. Staring right back, he said calmly, "Do you believe that you won't need to wait for later? You could be toasted right here, right now. If you dare start something today, I can make sure you don't walk out of this internet cafe." As soon as Ethan's words fell, Hightower and the gang of thugs exploded. They swarmed forward, Hightower pointing at Ethan's nose and cursing. "Screw you. Kid, what did you say? Come on. I'll kill you. FCK. Hightower, who do you think you are?" Big Ed and his crew surged forward too. For a moment, both sides were insulting each other's ancestors back 18 generations. Every curse word in the book was flying. The scene was incredibly tense, on the verge of eruption. Bang! Suddenly, the sound of a hand slamming on a table rang out, drowning out the noise. "What are you all doing here? Having a party?" Two police officers walked over. The leader had a square, authoritative face. He was the one who had slammed the table. "Detective Zimmer, sorry to trouble you so late at night." Ethan turned and greeted him. It was Detective Zimmer. Before rushing over, Ethan had called him to ask for help. This was the reason Ethan had confidence today. As long as Zimmer was here, these people couldn't start a riot. Zimmer strode over. The people on both sides automatically parted, not daring to block his way. After all, Zimmer was a legitimate badge carrier. None of these guys dared to mess with him. Quentin frowned. He hadn't expected Ethan to actually call the cops. "Mr. Ford, what's going on?" Zimmer glanced at Quentin, then turned to ask Ethan first. "Detective, I run an internet cafe. I welcome customers to come in and spend money. But these people aren't using the computers, and they aren't letting other customers use them either. They're disrupting business order. I had no choice but to call the police," Ethan said truthfully. Zimmer scanned Quentin's men. One look, and he knew they weren't decent citizens. They were all street thugs. He looked at Quentin and questioned, "What's the situation with you? Bringing so many people here, what kind of scene are you trying to make?" Quentin spread his hands, adopting an innocent tone. "Detective, you misunderstand me. Today is my grandma's 90th birthday. Is it illegal for me to bring friends to surf the web and celebrate? As for him saying no other customers are online, what does that have to do with us? We haven't done anything. Hey, did you guys do anything bad?" Hightower grinned. "No way. I'm a model citizen." Quentin pursed his lips. "Detective, you see, we're all honest, law-abiding people. Why would we do anything bad?" Zimmer scoffed. "Bringing this crew to surf the web for your grandma's 90th? That's a unique excuse. Do you take us for fools? I'm warning you. Don't try any funny business. Disturbing the peace will get you locked up. Disperse immediately. Otherwise, I'll take all of you back to stay at my place for a few days." Quentin shrugged and smiled. I understand, Detective. We'll scatter right now. Looks like we can't play today. A shame we can't get online. But I'm the kind of guy who likes to bring friends to surf the web on holidays and birthdays. Mr. Ford, I'm going to be a big customer of yours in the future. Don't worry, I'll visit often." Ethan put his hands in his pockets and said coldly, "You're extremely welcome. I'll accompany you until the end." "Is that so? Then we'll see you another day. Bye-bye." Quentin waved at Ethan and Zimmer, smiling as he left. As soon as Quentin left, the 30-odd men behind him followed in a swarm. Once Quentin's people were all gone, the weight in Ethan's heart finally lifted, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Although he wasn't afraid of fight, if a brawl broke out here, the internet cafe probably wouldn't be able to operate for a while, and it would severely impact future business. Most importantly, once a fight started, people would definitely get hurt. If something went wrong, it could mean lives. No amount of money could replace the lives of his own people. "Detective Zimmer, thank you so much. I'm really grateful you made the trip this late at night," Ethan said sincerely to Zimmer. Zimmer waved his hand. "It's my duty. No need to thank me." He glanced at Big Ed and his group, frowning slightly. "But, Mr. Ford, come with me for a moment. There are some things, some words, I need to make clear to you." West Ford Gaming Office. Ethan poured a cup of hot tea for Detective Zimmer and offered him a cigarette. "Detective, would you like to try a cigar later?" Ethan took a box of cigars from the cabinet and placed it in front of him, asking with a smile. If he wanted to smoke them, Ethan wouldn't hesitate to give him the whole box. Zimmer glanced at it. "Cuban cigars. Those cost a pretty penny. You're generous, Mr. Ford, but I'm not used to that stuff." He understood Ethan's intention, so he rejected the kindness directly. Taking handouts makes one soft. Eating other people's food shuts one's mouth. It would affect his principles. Ethan smiled. "All right, then we'll stick to parliaments." Here, detective, have some tea. Zimmer didn't pick up the tea. Instead, he lit his cigarette, took a drag, and said, Mr. Ford, you're a businessman. I'm not. I'm not good at beating around the bush. I say what I mean. Mr. Ford, were those your friends just now? Ethan knew who he was referring to, Big Ed and his crew. Yeah, just some warm-hearted friends, Ethan admitted without evasion. Zimmer smoked, speaking calmly. Friends? Mr. Ford, you certainly have a lot of friends. Even gangsters. You've built such a big business at such a young age. Honestly, your future is limitless. You're young and promising. I admire you. However, as a police officer, I hope you learn to choose your friends carefully. Some people aren't suitable to be friends. This is also a piece of advice I want to give you. Ethan heard the sincerity in his words, but replied helplessly. You're right, detective. But you said it yourself. I'm a businessman. As the saying goes, another friend is another path. Some friends you just have to make otherwise. I wouldn't have passed tonight's hurdle. If I had waited for you to arrive, this place would probably be a pile of rubble. What choice did I have? I understand what you mean, but I hope you can understand me too. Zimmer shook his head. Try to keep some distance. You're the most promising young man I've seen. I don't want you to go astray. His words showed he valued talent and demonstrated his goodwill. Haha, definitely. I'm always reminding myself not to go astray. You can rest assured on that. Ethan laughed heartily. Zimmer flicked the ash from his cigarette and said seriously, Good. There are some things, some words, that can't be said openly. But you're smart. You can grasp my meaning. Mr. Ford, if anything happens, you can call me anytime. Although this isn't my jurisdiction, fate has brought us together somewhat. I can help where I can. Ethan nodded and said solemnly, Thank you for your kindness, detective. I am incredibly grateful. I hope to make friends like you. Making friends is no problem. But I'm not in the habit of putting handcuffs on my friends. I hope that day never comes, Zimmer said in a half-joking tone. Of course, I'm the most law-abiding citizen around. Our group has a professional legal compliance team. Ethan smiled. All right then, since you understand my meaning, I won't disturb you further. It's almost midnight. I should head back. Zimmer stubbed out the half-smoked cigarette and stood up. Ethan stood up as well, suddenly raising a hand to stop him. Please wait, detective. HM? Mr. Ford, is there something else? Zimmer stopped and turned back, asking in confusion. Ethan stared at him, revealing a strange smile. I really have you to thank for today, detective. If I gave you other gifts, you probably wouldn't accept them. But I have another gift I want to give you. I think you'll take this one. Zimmer raised an eyebrow. What gift? Ethan tapped the desk. A merit, a massive credit-earning bust. Meanwhile, inside a luxury private room at the Onyx Room Club near the University District, more than 10 people were drinking inside. Hostesses wove through the crowd. The noisy room was filled with colorful lights and drifting smoke. Boss Cross, I'm really sorry. I intended to mess that kid Ethan up tonight, but I didn't expect 2 cops to show up. A real shame. Quentin raised his glass to Damian Cross. He had come to report immediately after leaving the internet cafe. Failing the task made him lose some face. It's fine. There's plenty of time to get him. You worked hard making the trip tonight, brother. Let the boys let loose and have fun, Damian said magnanimously, acting as if he didn't care whether tonight's plan succeeded or not, highlighting his broad-mindedness. Quentin stood up and moved 2 seats closer, actively clinking glasses with Damian, holding his glass slightly lower as a mark of respect. Right, Boss Cross is right. Plenty of chances, but I still have to punish myself with a drink for tonight, Quentin said politely. Hey, no need for that. Punish what? We're brothers, I understand. Damian feigned dissatisfaction. Quentin had been operating in the University District for years. The reason he could do business there was mostly due to his good relationship with Damian, which made everything smooth sailing. For the two of them, it was a mutual need. Damian had money and could make money. Usually, he would give Quentin a monthly dividend, acting as his backer. Quentin, in turn, was responsible for the stability of Damian's business venues. The reason no one dared to cause trouble in Damian's places was precisely this. It could be said that they had a mutually beneficial cooperative relationship. They had worked together for several years, were on good terms, and called each other brothers. The two clinked glasses and downed them in one go. Damian suddenly asked, Brother Quentin, which one of the boys led the team tonight? It's a good brother of mine, Hightower. That kid doesn't know anything except fighting, Quentin teased. Speaking of him, he shouted to Hightower, who was hugging a girl in the middle of the room, Hightower, come over and have a drink with Boss Cross. I coming. Hightower ran over enthusiastically, holding his glass. So it's Brother Hightower. I remember now. Indeed, a very capable brother, Damien realized upon seeing him. He had drunk with Hightower a few times and met him on several occasions. He usually only dealt with Quentin and didn't know much about his subordinates. "Hello, Boss Cross," Hightower shouted carelessly, raising his glass to clink with Damien. Damien clinked glasses again and sized Hightower up. Although this young man was young, he had a mature thug aura about him. He had clearly started running the streets early. But why did Quentin suddenly promote him to handle this matter? "Brother Quentin, your subordinates are full of talent." "Huh," Damien praised. Quentin straightened his suit and smiled. "Ah, you flatter him. He still has a lot to learn. Just knowing how to fight is useless. His sister asked me to guide him more, teach him. Luckily, he hasn't embarrassed me." Quentin was dating Hightower's sister, and they had reached the point of discussing marriage. Quentin treated her well and, loving the house and its crow, looked after this future brother-in-law. He intended for Hightower to share some duties and lead some brothers in the future. Hightower hadn't disappointed him either. He was clearly talented in this line of work, clean, ruthless, and deeply liked by Quentin. The only bad thing was that he was too young and aggressive, lacking restraint. But Quentin believed that with some polishing of his character, Hightower would be able to shoulder heavy responsibilities in the future. Haha, a talent indeed. Not bad, not bad. Damien didn't spare his praise. Hightower was a bit dizzy from the flattery, coupled with the alcohol. He patted his chest and said, "Boss Cross, don't worry. Leave that kid Ethan to me. I guarantee I'll take care of him properly. I can crush him with one hand." Damien clapped. "Good. Brave. Young people really have drive. However, to get that kid Ethan, we still have to target his 3 internet cafes first. We still have to force him, make him unable to resist starting a fight." Hightower slapped his chest, about to agree boldly, when he was suddenly interrupted by Quentin raising a hand. "Oh, Boss Cross has another method. Let's hear it." Quentin leaned in and whispered. He wasn't stupid. He wouldn't agree immediately like Hightower. He wanted to hear Damien's words before deciding. Although he had a good relationship with Damien and handled these matters, not everything was worth doing. At the very least, he couldn't be used as a gun. Damien blew out a smoke ring, chuckled, and whispered a few words into Quentin's ear. After listening, Quentin raised an eyebrow and smiled. Boss Cross's plan is good. Don't worry about those small things. I'll handle it. But who's going to make the move on Ethan?" Damien sat up straight, gently patted a man on his other side, and narrowed his eyes with a smile. "Of course. I'm handing it over to Baz. Let me introduce you. This is Ray Young's brother from Thunder Bay, Barry Baz Mitchell." Barry Baz Mitchell. A look of surprise appeared on Quentin's face. The Thunder Bay crew had recently been targeting Victor Vane's venues. Rumor had it they put Victor in the hospital, and he still hadn't come out. It had caused quite a sensation. And among the Thunder Bay people, the name rising to fame recently was Baz Mitchell. Anyone who dared to move on Victor Vane in Chicago was likely no pushover. "Aha, Brother Baz, hello. I've heard a lot about you." Quentin piled on a smile, getting up to shake Baz's hand. Baz stood up for a brief shake. "Hey, you're too kind." After shaking hands, Baz sat back down, crossed his legs, and started cracking sunflower seeds. He had no intention of getting cozy with Quentin. This made Quentin feel a bit awkward and annoyed. This guy was arrogant enough, worthy of coming from Thunder Bay. But Quentin was a sophisticated operator in this world. He wouldn't throw a fit over such a small thing. Instead, he said generously, "With Brother Baz helping Boss Cross, taking care of that kid Ethan will be a breeze." He could hold it in, but Hightower didn't have his patience. Hightower muttered sarcastically, "Hey, maybe." Clang. Baz suddenly slammed his heavy glass down, making a harsh sound. Quentin's heart skipped a beat. He glared at Hightower and scolded. "Hightower, you drink a few cups of horse piss and start talking nonsense? Go play in the corner." "Boss, Hightower was indignant and wanted to argue, but Quentin cut him off directly. "You what? Go play in the corner. Listen to me." Quentin shot him a sideways glance, thinking to himself that this future brother-in-law really didn't give him any peace of mind. "Oh," scolded, Hightower walked away resentfully to drink sulkily. Quentin personally grabbed a beer, poured one for Baz, and smiled. "Hey, Brother Baz, come. First time meeting, let me toast you. Bottoms up." Quentin had given enough face, hoping to ease the atmosphere. But Baz gave a frivolous smile and didn't pick up his glass. Instead, he stared at Quentin, wanting to watch him drink. A trace of malice flashed in Quentin's eyes, but he kept his expression smooth, tilting his head back to drain the glass. Damien knew Baz's arrogance. Other than the Thunder Bay boss Ray Young, He didn't respect anyone. Damien stood up to smooth things over, laughing. Brother Quentin has a good capacity for liquor. Come, I'll drink a few with you. We said we wouldn't go home until we're drunk tonight. Good. Come on, Boss Cross, let's clink one. Quentin turned to Damien, smiling. Halfway through the drinking session, Quentin used the excuse of going to the bathroom, and Hightower followed him out. The two stood at the bathroom entrance smoking. Brother-in-law. Boss, that Baz is a piece of trash. Who does he think he is? If I run into him outside, watch me take care of him. Damn it. Quentin sneered. Nothing worth getting angry about. People like that don't last long. Hightower, remember, you can do the small stuff, but leave Ethan alone for now. Let the Thunder Bay guys handle the dirty work like that, Quentin instructed. Understood, boss. I'll go mess up Westford Gaming in a couple of days. Hightower laughed. Quentin nodded. After thinking for a moment, he said, be clean when you do it. Don't let anyone catch you by the tail. Boss, no problem. I know how to do it, Hightower said with full confidence. 2 days later, 1:00 a.m. Westford Gaming was still packed. All the machines were taken. Henry Payne was making a round, preparing to return to the office to rest. To prevent anyone from causing trouble these past 2 days, he had moved into the internet cafe to live. Before he could get back to the office, suddenly, with a snap, the entire internet cafe plunged into darkness. Instantly, everyone in the cafe started causing a commotion. Holy SHD, what's going on? Power outage. No way, that unlucky. Impossible. This is a commercial district. How could the power go out? The lights in the shops outside are still on. Yeah, looks like it's just the internet cafe. Damn, what kind of trash cafe is this? I was just getting into it. FCK. Crap, refund. Refund and log off. Complaints rose from the customers. Many simply left, while others crowded the counter asking for the reason and demanding refunds. Henry frowned, sensing something was wrong. He was just about to go check the breaker box when a young attendant ran over. Mr. Payne, it's bad. The cafe's power lines seem to have been cut. What? Cut? Henry's heart sank. He instinctively had a premonition that the other two internet cafes were also in trouble. Sure enough, his phone rang. It was the manager of another branch. Mr. Payne, bad news. Our dedicated network line was burned. Notify the maintenance department for emergency repairs immediately, Henry said in a deep voice. Yes, Mr. Payne, I've already notified maintenance, but it doesn't look like equipment failure. From a scene, it looks man-made. The manager on the other end said worriedly. Okay, take photos of the scene for the record first, then check the surveillance to see if there are any suspicious people. Remember to record the losses and restore the equipment as soon as possible. Henry remained calm. Now wasn't the time for anger or finding the arsonist, but to restore operations quickly, otherwise the cafe's reputation would suffer. Yes, I understand. Hanging up the phone, Henry said to the young attendant, let's go check the scene. The group hurried to the outdoor transformer. Sure enough, they saw a wire had been severed. Henry squatted down, staring at the break in the wire. The cut was clean. It looked like it had been snipped by bolt cutters. However, there were no cameras installed at this location, so they had no idea who did it. Notify property management. Get it reconnected ASAP. Henry stood up, feeling the severity of the situation. The 5th day after the incidents at Westford Gaming, a notice of temporary suspension of business hung on the door of the cafe. That morning, in a conference room of Westford Group, the heads of various branches and departments gathered. Ethan sat at the head of the table, looking gloomy, twirling a gel pen in his hand. Ethan, everyone's here, Wayne Tank, Turner reminded him in a low voice. Ethan glanced at everyone present, nodded, and said, I called this emergency meeting to discuss the incidents at Westford Gaming over the past few days. Henry, tell everyone the situation. Henry nodded and stood up. For 5 days, the 3 Westford Gaming locations have been subjected to man-made sabotage, including cutting power lines, burning network cables, throwing feces, releasing stink bugs, and so on. The damage to power and network equipment is particularly severe. It has seriously impacted operations and caused huge losses. Most importantly, these events have caused our reputation among customers to plummet. The potential losses are even greater. So, Ethan and I discussed it and decided to suspend business at all 3 locations to avoid further damage. Henry's words caused surprise and anger among everyone present. They hadn't expected someone to use such dirty tactics, truly shameless. Ross Lawton rubbed his chin and asked, Did you catch anyone in the act? Henry shook his head, gritting his teeth. Those people are extremely cunning. The timing of their sabotage is completely random. I had people watching and guarding, but even if we saw them, they'd run immediately after doing the damage. We couldn't catch them at all, and they wear masks. Even the surveillance can't capture their faces. Filing police reports has led to no leads. Ross frowned. That means no witnesses, no physical evidence, and we don't even know who the saboteurs are. This is a bit tricky. Wayne slammed the table in anger. Needless to say, it must be Damian Cross pulling the strings, or that guy named Quentin Frost. Ethan, let's just take the police and grab them for a confrontation. Ethan shook his head. Since they dared to do this, they've already anticipated such things. If we grab them, do we have evidence? Can we convict them? Even with evidence, as long as it's not complete, will they admit it? This method won't work. Wayne opened his mouth, speechless. Ethan, then what do we do? Do we just stay closed forever? Get hit as soon as we open? Ross thought for a moment and said, if we can catch a breakthrough point, as long as we can link it to them, I can put them all in a dark cell. The most important thing is this breakthrough. Ethan stopped, twirling his pen, a glint flashing in his eyes. Ross is right. There must be a breakthrough. If we can't find this breakthrough ourselves, then we'll let them deliver it to our doorstep. Wayne was stunned. Everyone else was stunned too. A breakthrough can deliver itself. Wayne scratched his head, not understanding the meaning. Ethan knocked on the table and sneered. Yes, let them deliver it. Henry, tomorrow, open the cafe in the University District. Keep the other two closed. Henry seemed to think of something, a look of realization appearing on his face. He nodded in response. Okay, Ethan, I'll go over first thing tomorrow morning. Ethan turned to Wayne. Hank, Westford Electronics has a lot of staff. Arrange some manpower to guard the perimeter of the internet cafe. I'll have Big Ed coordinate with you. Understood. Wayne nodded heavily. Ethan looked at Ross and instructed, Ross, prepare to sue Maximic. Use whatever pretext you can. Don't let Damian Cross run. President, no problem. I'm good at this. Ross pushed up his glasses, smiling like an old fox. Ethan turned to Henry. Henry, have Westford Gaming's finance department calculate the losses. Try to make it as large as possible. Arrange the loss inventory in advance. Okay, I'll notify the finance department shortly, Henry responded. Ethan gripped the pen tightly, his voice cold. Since Damian Cross wants to play so badly, we'll play a big game with him. The next day, 11:00 p.m. The street outside Westford Gaming was deserted. Two motorcycles approached from the distance and stopped at the mall entrance. Hightower, we're here. How do you want to play tonight? Haha. A youth in a black hoodie asked with a grin. Just burn the transformer box and retreat. Save the trouble. Hightower laughed ruthlessly, patting the backpack in his hand, which contained homemade Molotov cocktails. Hey, Westford Gaming is stubborn enough. We've hit them so many times, and they still dare to open for business. We'll bankrupt them. Skedaddling. The hoodie youth said excitedly. Doing this kind of thing gave him a rush. Hightower sneered. As long as they're open for a day, we hit them once. We'll hit them until they close. Augur, go scout first. See what the situation is inside. The guy named Augur looked ordinary, wearing black-rimmed glasses. He didn't look like a thug. He was the one who scouted first every time. As long as no one was guarding and no police were staked out, they could move. Smash, burn, turn, and run. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. Even if they wanted to catch them, they couldn't. You got it, Hightower. I'm on it. Augur responded, straightened his jacket, shoved his hands in his pockets, put on his hood, and walked toward the internet cafe. About 10 minutes later, Augur walked quickly out of the cafe and whispered to Hightower, Hightower, there are two attendants guarding the door, and the people inside are a bit alert. We can't touch the network cables, but no one is watching the transformer box. Hearing this, excitement appeared in Hightower's eyes. He threw away the cigarette in his mouth and grinned. Good. Seems they still haven't learned their lesson. Then let's teach them another one. Smokey, you come with me. You two stay here for pickup. With that, Hightower pulled on a black mask, revealing only his eyes. He waved his hand and said viciously, Let's go. Let's send them some warmth. Hightower and Smokey, wearing masks, used the cover of night to sneak into the mall complex. Westford Gaming was located inside the mall, but its dedicated transformer box was located in a corner of the exterior corridor. That was their target. Hightower ran past the surveillance zone of the cafe, reaching the end of the corridor where he found the newly repaired transformer box. The transformer box had been secured with a new iron cage to prevent the wires from being cut again, but there were gaps on all sides of the cage. It couldn't stop flames. Hightower looked back. The coast was clear. Do it, Hightower whispered, wasting no time. He pulled a bottle of kerosene from his backpack. Lamp oil, extremely flammable. He poured the kerosene through the gaps in the iron cage, then stuffed in several rags. Smokey took out a lighter and ignited the kerosene-soaked rags. Whoosh! Flames surged upward, tongues of fire instantly engulfing the iron cage. Hightower smiled smugly. This time, the internet cafe would probably be down for 10 days to 2 weeks. Moo! He waved his hand, but when he turned around, he suddenly froze. At some point, more than 20 people had appeared behind him, many of them cafe employees. Grab those bastards! Wayne Tank, Turner roared, charging forward first, a crowd following behind him like a tidal wave. SHD. We were set up. Hightower's face changed drastically. He cursed, but now wasn't the time to stand there. Run. Run fast. Seeing his retreat completely blocked, Hightower saw only a window on one side of the corridor. But the window was small, only big enough for one person to climb through. He couldn't care less and scrambled up first. Hightower, don't leave me, Smokey shouted frantically, trying to climb up too, squeezing into the window opening to fight for position. FCK off. Hightower kicked him away, scrambled through the window, and fled. Smokey fell to the ground. Just as he tried to get up, he was pinned down firmly by Wayne and the group, unable to move. Don't move. Move again, and I'll beat you to death. Wayne slapped him across the face, dazing him. Put out the fire, quick. Wayne turned and shouted. 2 employees rushed up with fire extinguishers, putting out the fire at the transformer box. The flames were quickly extinguished. Boss Turner, one of them got away. Someone shouted urgently. Want to chase? You won't get far, Wayne said coldly. On the other side, Hightower jumped down to the ground in a panic, landing heavily and twisting his ankle. FCK. Damn it. Hightower cursed inwardly, already feeling that something huge was about to happen. It felt like he had walked right into a trap. Luckily, he was fast. Otherwise, he would have been caught red-handed. As for Smokey, he'd have to figure out a way to fish him out later. Gritting his teeth and enduring the pain, he sprinted toward the main entrance where 2 people were still waiting to pick him up. As long as he was okay and could escape, he could make other plans. Running to the roadside, he saw the 2 men who were supposed to be waiting on motorcycles standing motionless in a dark shadow. SHD, what are you 2 idiots waiting for? Trouble. Let's go. Hightower cursed, limping as he ran over. But the 2 men remained stiff and motionless. Fear was visible on their faces. They opened their mouths as if to speak, but didn't dare. When Hightower reached the motorcycles and saw they still hadn't moved, a sense of dread suddenly rose in his heart. Clang, clang. Suddenly, strange sounds echoed from all around, like metal striking metal, followed by countless footsteps. Where do you think you're going? A clean-cut young man walked out of the darkness ahead, hands in his pockets. It's you. Hightower's pupils constricted violently. The clean-cut young man in front of him was the behind-the-scenes boss of the internet cafe, Ethan Ford. He was completely stunned, his heart shaking violently. Ethan appearing here meant his 2 lackeys had been neutralized. Sure enough, Big Ed was following behind Ethan. Behind the 2 lackeys, 2 men stepped out, holding shining weapons against the lackeys' backs. No wonder they hadn't dared to move. Before he could recover, dense silhouettes emerged from the formerly deserted street ahead. At a glance, they were uncountable. Many of them held steel pipes and pitchforks. His pupils shrank, instinctively backing away. He wanted to turn and run. But looking back, just as many people appeared behind him, all dressed in black, cigarettes in their mouths, looking fierce. Both ends of the street were blocked. A look of despair appeared in Hightower's eyes. Only 2 words remained in his mind. It's over. Big Ed sprinted forward and kicked him in the stomach. The immense force sent Hightower flying backward several meters. Pain. He felt as if his internal organs had been shattered. He struggled to prop himself up. Looking up, Big Ed was already in front of him, that massive head and fierce, square face terrifying to behold. Get up. Big Ed yanked his mask off with one hand and lifted him from the ground like a baby chick. Hightower went completely limp. Fear occupied his mind, his hands trembling uncontrollably, leaving him with no will to struggle or resist. Weren't you pretty tough a while ago? Let's see you be tough now. Big Ed sneered, slapping him across the face with a backhand. Smack! The slap was crisp and loud, instantly swelling his cheek. Mr. Ford, how do we handle this? Big Ed dragged him over to Ethan. Ethan kept his hands in his pockets, staring coldly at Hightower. Hightower felt his blood run cold under that icy gaze, a chill running down his spine. He didn't dare make eye contact. Ethan suddenly grabbed a handful of his hair and said coldly, Damian Cross and Quentin Frost like to play, right? I said I'd play with you until the end. Since the game has started, don't think about stopping. It's life or death. Falling into my hands today will be something you regret for the rest of your life. Hightower thought Ethan wanted to cripple him. His face turned pale with fright. You don't touch me. Quentin Frost is my brother-in-law. If you touch me, he definitely won't let you off. If you let me go, I promise. I promise I won't look for trouble with you guys ever again. Before he could finish, Ethan let go of his hair and slapped him. It knocked him dizzy. Ethan pulled out a handkerchief, slowly wiping the blood from his hand, and said indifferently, It's too late to say that now. Hearing this, Hightower's eyes filled with terror, his legs shaking uncontrollably. Ethan waved his hand and said calmly, Big Ed, take them away. Take them to your place. They might have to stay there for a while. No problem. I'll show them some hospitality. Big Ed grinned, emphasizing the word hospitality. Anyone could hear the implication. Take him away. We'll have some fun when we get back, Big Ed told the minions behind him. Hightower was dragged away like a dead dog. Big Ed whispered, Mr. Ford, want me to cripple him? Ethan shook his head and smiled. Keep him, he's still useful. Do as I say. Go notify Damian Cross. Say Hightower has already implicated him, identifying him to the police as the one who ordered all of this. Then, go make an appointment with Quentin Frost. Tell him Hightower is in my hands. If he wants Hightower to come out in one piece, he needs to come to the Metro Hotel tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Alone. Big Ed listened intently. After hearing the plan, a light flashed in his eyes, and he said excitedly, Mr. Ford, that's brilliant. Hightower was the breakthrough. As long as Damian Cross knew Hightower had implicated him, regardless of whether Damian believed it or not, suspicion toward Quentin would be planted. Then, if Quentin went to meet Ethan alone, Damian would inevitably suspect Quentin of flipping or backstabbing him. No matter the outcome, Damian would no longer be able to fully trust Quentin. He might even become extremely suspicious of him. Big Ed had seen many street thugs, but it was his first time seeing someone who could manipulate minds like this. He was deeply impressed. The soldier was right, Mr. Ford's depth was unfathomable. Don't look at Mr. Ford as just a civilian. He really wasn't someone to mess with. Mr. Ford, should we rough that kid Hightower up a bit? Big Ed whispered. Ethan smiled. Of course. Let him know he has no choice. Unless he sells out Quentin, he has no value staying alive. And make him believe Quentin has already abandoned him. Big Ed clapped his hands excitedly. Mr. Ford, I get it. Mr. Ford, then I'll go handle that kid first. Ethan nodded. Go ahead. Big Ed bowed to Ethan. It was genuine admiration. Big Ed left with his men, and Henry walked over. Ethan, do we start the operation tomorrow? A ruthless look gradually emerged in Ethan's eyes as he said indifferently, Yeah, it's time to make them pay the price. The next day at noon, Maximic. Damian Cross was sitting leisurely at his tea table, tasting tea. Sitting across from him was Barry Baz Mitchell. Baz, try this. A friend of mine brought this Pre-Ching Ming Longjing back from Hangzhou. The taste is quite good, Damian offered. He didn't actually know much about tea, but he wanted to show off his high-class taste in front of Baz. Baz took a cigarette, tapped it on the table, and said disdainfully, Tea? Boring. I only drink booze. Damian put down his teacup and smiled. Hey, booze is good. Tea is good. You should try everything. Baz lit the cigarette, squinting. Boss Cross looks to be in a good mood today. You didn't call me here just to drink tea, right? I don't have that much time. Damian laughed. Baz, you're still so impatient. I called you here today because, of course, there's something in it for you. With that, Damian opened the drawer under the table, took out a gift box, and pushed it in front of him. Baz glanced at it and asked, Boss Cross, isn't it a little early for holiday gifts? Hey, look inside and you'll know. Damian also lit a cigarette. Baz took the box and opened the lid. Stacks of red bills were revealed before his eyes. 10 stacks. A clean 100,000. Boss Cross really is generous. I love doing business with friends like you. A smile finally appeared on Baz's face as he closed the lid. Damian chuckled lightly. It's only right. I asked you brothers to handle that Ethan matter. I can't let brothers work for free. Besides, Boss Young and I go way back. Now that he intends to come out here, I should show some appreciation. Baz stroked the box, greed visible in his eyes, and smiled. Then I won't be polite. Boss Young also said Boss Cross isn't a stingy man. If you need anything in the future, just ask us. Baz, Hearing you say that makes me very happy, Damien rejoiced. With Victor Vane's power waning, he needed to build a good relationship with the Thunder Bay crew. Having Thunder Bay support in Chicago would save him a lot of trouble and serve as insurance. Businessmen should be like this, clearing connections up, down, left, and right. That was harmony. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Damien looked up and shouted. The door opened, and a middle-aged man in a suit walked in, approaching the tea table. Boss Cross, please review the recent revenue for the internet cafes. You were right. Business has been much better these past few days. The suited man said excitedly. Damien flipped through the documents, smiling smugly. Naturally, he knew this was the result of Quentin's people's work. With Westford Gaming closed, those customers had no choice but to come to his cafes. All right, I got it. Go back to work. Damien put down the file and waved his hand. Yes, sir. The middle-aged man retreated. Baz finished his cigarette, stubbed it out, and stood up. Boss Cross, I have something to do, so I won't keep you company with the tea. Call if you need anything. Damien guessed he was eager to go back and take credit. He feigned an attempt to keep him. Hey, what's the rush? Have a few drinks with me at lunch. I already had my secretary book a private room. No need. Another day. Baz refused directly, not standing on ceremony at all. All right, then I won't keep you. Next time, I'll definitely treat you to a drink at my bar. I'll walk you out. Damien stood up. After sending Baz off, Damien returned to his office humming a tune, in a delightful mood. Ring, ring. Suddenly, the landline rang. He went over to pick it up. Hello, it's me. What? Hightower was grabbed by the cops. What's the situation? What? HM? Hightower implicated me? Who said that? Damien's face changed drastically. After listening to the call, he slammed the receiver back down, his fingers trembling slightly. The call was from one of his subordinates. The news that Hightower had been arrested came from Victor Vane's side, and they said with certainty that Hightower had given him up. This news was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue for him. Although he couldn't verify the authenticity of the news yet, it left his heart hanging in suspense. He frowned, feeling uneasy, pacing back and forth, thinking, if this news was true, it meant the cops might already be watching him. Hightower was an ironclad witness. Plus, the things his subordinates did weren't clean to begin with. If they really dug into it, it would be a huge problem. He could go to jail at any moment. The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he became. He quickly took out his mobile phone, wanted to call Quentin to confirm the news. Hightower was Quentin's man. He would definitely know. He dialed the number, but the line was busy. No answer. Suddenly, the sound of rapid footsteps came from outside the door. Then the door was pushed open, and a person walked in quickly. It was Quentin. Quentin's face was very ugly as soon as he entered. He said in a deep voice, Boss Cross, something happened to Hightower. Hearing from Quentin that something happened to Hightower, Damien's heart skipped a beat. Was Hightower really caught by the cops? Is the rumor true? What happened? What's wrong with Hightower? Damien asked urgently. Quentin's face was grim. Hightower and a few of my brothers went to do the job last night and haven't come back. Their phones aren't going through. We've lost contact. Job? What job? They went to Westford Gaming. Damien guessed. Quentin looked surprised. HM? Boss Cross, how did you know? Yeah, they went to Westford Gaming. It reopened yesterday. Hightower said he'd go mess it up. I went out yesterday and only found out when I got back. But I haven't seen them return all night and all day, and I can't get through to their phones. I'm afraid. Something happened. Damien frowned, sitting at the tea table. He lit a cigarette on his own, pondering. Do you think Hightower got grabbed by the cops? I don't know either. The most important thing now is to find out his whereabouts. Quentin said gravely. Damien blew out smoke. Whereabouts? They went to hit Westford Gaming last night and didn't come back. Where do you think they are? If not in Ethan's hands, then they must be in the precinct. To tell you the truth, I just received news that Hightower has likely fallen into police hands, and he's going to implicate me. Did you know that? What? Fallen into police hands? Where did you hear that? Quentin's face showed shock, no longer able to remain calm. My people heard it from Victor Vane's side. If Hightower is missing, then it's basically confirmed. The most important thing now is, will Hightower sell me out? There was anger in Damien's voice. What he hated most was betrayal. If Hightower sold him out, he definitely wouldn't be able to escape involvement. To him, that was tantamount to betrayal. No, he won't. Hightower is a bit reckless, but he would never sell us out. I trust him on that. Quentin said with certainty. Brother Quentin, are you really that confident? Damien said abruptly. He had been in the underworld for many years and seen all kinds of people. He had seen plenty of people who talked about brotherhood and loyalty usually, but flipped when it mattered. Quentin was Hightower's brother-in-law, so naturally, he trusted him. But Damien didn't have that deep of a relationship with Hightower. If Hightower confessed that he ordered the hit on Westford Gaming, it would drag him straight into the water. How could he believe Hightower would keep his mouth shut? Boss Cross, what do you mean by that? Do you not trust Hightower, or do you not trust me? Quentin's face darkened instantly. Damien didn't answer the question. Instead, he said coldly, Brother Quentin, Hightower is your man. I don't want him saying things he shouldn't say to the cops. You understand? Hightower is your responsibility. You must investigate this clearly, find Hightower, and warn him not to talk nonsense. Quentin sensed the distrust in his words and felt a chill in his heart. Fine, no problem. But shouldn't we find the person first? Boss Cross, you have connections with some of the nearby precincts. Shouldn't you help find him first? Damien glanced at him and nodded. I'll make some calls later to ask. Control your people for the next few days. Don't cause trouble. With Hightower in trouble, the heat might be on. Quentin didn't speak. He sat down and lit a cigarette. The office fell into a deathly silence. The atmosphere between the two was eerie. Just then, a ringtone broke the calm. It was Quentin's cell phone. Quentin took out his phone. It was a strange number. He answered immediately. Who is this? That Quentin Frost, right? A deep voice came from the other end. Who the hell are you? Quentin raised an eyebrow. You don't need to worry about who I am. I'll just say one thing. You don't want Hightower to go to jail lying down, do you? Quentin's heart seized. He shot up from his seat, demanding, Hightower is in your hands. Listening from the side, Damien's heart also tightened, staring closely at Quentin. The person on the other end continued. That's right. Hightower is in our hands. If you want him safe and sound, come to the Metro Hotel, Box 888, tonight at 9 o'clock. Our Mr. wants to see you. You're Ethan's man? Quentin's face changed drastically. If Hightower had fallen into Ethan's hands, it was truly ominous. Pass a message to Ethan. If Hightower is missing any parts, I'll pay it back on him 100-fold. Quentin threatened fiercely. Quentin, are you qualified to negotiate with us? If you don't come tonight, wait to collect Hightower's corpse. The person on the other end said. Just as Quentin was about to explode, the other party hung up. FCK him. Quentin cursed, his face gloomy enough to drip water. Damien stubbed out his cigarette and asked quickly, Who was it? Found Hightower. It was Ethan's man. Hightower is in Ethan's hands. They invited me to meet at the Metro Hotel tonight at 9. Quentin said truthfully. Hearing this, Damien's heart sank. Ethan invited you to meet at a hotel. Probably nothing good. I don't know yet, but I have to make this trip, Quentin said firmly. If he didn't get Hightower out safely, his subordinates wouldn't follow him anymore. Morale would scatter. Most importantly, Hightower was his future brother-in-law. Damien knocked on the table, glancing at him. Ethan caught Hightower and now wanted to negotiate. He was probably using Hightower as a bargaining chip. What could the two of them trade? One could guess with their toes. Ethan was definitely coming for him. If this guy Quentin reached some kind of cooperation with Ethan, wouldn't he be stabbed in the back? Damien took out a cigarette and handed it to Quentin. Brother Quentin, that kid Ethan is as cunning as a fox. Dealing with him, you have to be careful. If anything happens, call me anytime. If, and I mean if, as a last resort, it might be best if Hightower disappeared. As he spoke, a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. Quentin raised an eyebrow. He didn't take the cigarette. Anger appeared in his eyes as he questioned, Boss Cross, what do you mean? You want Hightower dead? Damien said coldly. That is the best scenario for us, isn't it? Quentin suppressed the anger in his heart, playing with his lighter, flicking it on and off. Boss Cross, is it necessary to be so extreme? Damien took the cigarette back and lit it himself. I don't want to go that far either. It's best if we don't have to. He pushed the lighter in his hand toward Quentin and continued. But, Brother Quentin, being in this life, don't we all have this awareness? Quentin stood up, grabbed Damien's lighter, and smashed it hard against the floor. Bang! The lighter exploded on the ground. Boss Cross, you're drunk. I hope this is the last time you say something like that to me. Quentin, what is the meaning of this? Damien roared, slapping the table so hard it shook. You should understand exactly what I mean, Boss Cross, Quentin replied coldly. With that, he turned and left without looking back. Damien watched helplessly as Quentin walked out. Unable to contain his rage any longer, he grabbed a teacup from the table and smashed it on the floor. Crash! The cup shattered. Son of a BTCH. Just a dog working for scraps, and he dares to give me attitude. Damien's face was twisted with fury, cursing loudly. In his eyes, Quentin was no different from Baz, just a dog he paid to do work. He had given him plenty of benefits over the years, yet he dared to speak to him like that. After his anger subsided, he quickly calmed down. Hightower wasn't with the police. He was in Ethan's hands. But the difference wasn't significant. If Ethan sent Hightower to the police station, Hightower was still very likely to implicate him. Otherwise, news wouldn't have leaked from Victor Vane's side. He didn't dare bet on Hightower keeping his mouth shut. Now Ethan wanted to meet Quentin alone. If it wasn't for a peace talk, there would be no need to meet. It seemed Ethan wanted to use Hightower as a bargaining chip to make some exchange with Quentin. This was highly probable. Quentin, would he flip? Damien's face changed drastically at the thought. He couldn't sit and wait for death. He had to prepare. Pacing around the office a few times, he suddenly took out his phone to make a call. Little Sue, call legal manager Gua over to see me. Also, give me a plane ticket to New York for tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. He planned to go out of town to lay low and see what happened with Quentin. He prepared for the worst. If Hightower exposed him, he would use all his legal resources to fight it. As long as the physical evidence wasn't complete, he could still maneuver for a while and then figure out a way to rescue Hightower, the witness. If Quentin dared to flip, he would use his Thunder Bay connections to make Quentin pay a painful price. Night, basement of the Royal KTV. In the dim basement, Hightower was tied to a chair alone, unable to move. His spirit was withered, his eyes lifeless. He was exhausted from struggling, coupled with not eating or drinking a drop of water for a day and night, and being beaten all night. He couldn't sleep or rest for a moment. Suddenly, footsteps approached. Big Ed came down holding a bottle of water and sat in front of him. Want a drink? Big Ed shook the water in front of his eyes. Hightower's lips were cracked, and seeing the water made his throat burn even more. He opened his mouth but held his words back. He really didn't want to sell out Quentin. Big Ed sneered, still acting tough. But I'll tell you some good news. Quentin has already let word out that you've gone rogue. Now, as soon as you appear, he'll definitely throw you into the river. He's in a hurry to cut ties with you. Hightower's pupils constricted violently. He croaked, no, impossible. Big Ed crossed his legs, speaking with certainty. Hey, you're too naive. In this world, for money, is anything impossible? Now, even if you identify him as the one who ordered you to cause trouble, he has plenty of ways to disassociate from you. Don't you know what kind of person Quentin is? Even if he didn't want to do it, do you think Damien Cross wouldn't make him? Will Damien Cross let you go? Stop being naive. Hightower's face instantly turned pale. He knew what kind of person Damien Cross was. For profit, he would stop at nothing. Seeing this, Big Ed brought the water to his mouth, whispering like a devil. Cooperating with us is your only way out. If you don't cooperate, tomorrow there will just be another floater in the lake. Hightower broke out in goosebumps, a chill shooting from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. A moment later, he moved his mouth and actively drank the bottled water from Big Ed's hand. 9 p.m., Metro Hotel. Quentin drove to the hotel as agreed. Guided by a hotel waiter, he arrived at box 888. Before entering the private room, two men in suits searched him to confirm he wasn't carrying any weapons. Please, Mr. Ford is inside. One of the men opened the door. Quentin's face was cold as he stepped inside. As soon as he entered the room, he saw only two people, Ethan Ford and Henry Payne. Hey, you're here. Seat. Ethan smoked a cigarette, neither standing up nor intending to shake hands. Quentin sat opposite Ethan and said coldly, cut the crap. Name your conditions. What will it take to release him? Ethan stood up, turned to pour a glass of red wine, and said without looking back, before discussing that, I want to confirm something first. Who ordered Hightower to mess with my internet cafe? Was it you or Damien Cross? Or rather, was it Damien Cross who told you to mess with me? With that, Ethan turned around, staring at him coldly. Quentin snorted. Ethan, aren't you asking what you already know? I'm asking you to answer, Ethan shouted. Quentin's face flushed with anger. Having run the university district for so long, when had he ever been yelled at by a young man? But reason made him calm down. He said in a deep voice, it was Damien Cross who told us to do it. He told us to make it, so you couldn't operate. Satisfied with that answer? So, the cutting of power lines, burning of network cables, throwing feces, bugs, and all those things at our internet cafes. Damien Cross ordered you to do them, and you admit it? Ethan continued to ask. I admit it. What exactly are you trying to say? Don't fucking waste my time. Where is Hightower? Quentin slammed the table, demanding. He felt a bit uneasy and anxious, but right now he just wanted to get Hightower out. Ethan swirled his wine glass. Since you admit it, that's good. Hightower? I don't know who you're talking about. HM? What did you say? Quentin was stunned, not knowing what Ethan meant. Ethan smiled. Oh, are you talking about one of those lackeys? If so, he's already in the precinct, and he's already handed over all the material evidence of your crimes. That lackey you call Hightower will probably identify you personally. Quentin's face changed drastically. He slammed the table and stood up, shouting hysterically, Ethan, what do you mean? He suddenly felt this negotiation was a trap. Ethan didn't intend to negotiate at all. A ruthless look flashed in Ethan's eyes as he said coldly, You ask me what I mean? I'm telling you kindly. I want to invite you to prison. Beside him, Henry stood up, turned off the video camera hidden in the corner, and took out his phone. Detective Zimmer, your man is here. Quentin's face instantly turned pale, staring at Ethan in shock. Ethan didn't want peace. He wanted to put him away. This young man was too damn vicious. This was a trap from start to finish. Damien's words suddenly flashed through his mind, and everything became clear. The news about Hightower being caught was definitely leaked to Damien by Ethan on purpose, then purposely inviting him out alone to negotiate. The underlying purpose gradually emerged, to make Damien suspicious of him, daring not to trust him anymore. That way, Damien definitely wouldn't collude with him, and even less likely use resources to fish him out of the police station. FCK, so ruthless. At this moment, he felt fear toward the young man in front of him. Deep fear. This young man was terrifying. In an instant, Quentin figured out many things, but it was too late. He collapsed in his seat, limp. Bang! The door burst open. Detective Zimmer rushed in with a group of officers. 2 officers immediately put the silver bracelets on him. Quentin looked numb, despair appearing in his eyes. It was over. Everything was over. Zimmer walked up to him and said coldly, Quentin Frost, you are suspected of damaging others' property, involvement in multiple violent incidents, robbery, and intentional injury. Please come with us. Quentin Frost was dragged away by 2 officers, facing a sentence that would likely span decades. Detective Zimmer watched him go, then turned to Ethan Ford with a faint smile. Mr. Ford, I really have to thank you for this. Ethan kept a serious expression. Helping the police remove a threat to the community is just my duty. If anything, I should be thanking you. Zimmer couldn't help but chuckle at Ethan's earnest demeanor. Mr. Ford, you can run your business with peace of mind now, right? He understood perfectly well that the credit Ethan had handed him was simply a tool to remove a business obstacle. It was a tacit understanding between them. Of course, thanks to you. But there's still one more person before I can truly rest easy, Ethan said with a light laugh. Damien Cross. I know. Rest assured, we won't let any criminal slip through the cracks, Zimmer said sternly. I believe you completely, Detective Zimmer. With you around, Chicago is a safer place, Ethan said sincerely. Zimmer waved his hand dismissively. No need to butter me up. I'm just doing my job. I'll say it again. I hope you keep your business clean, Mr. Ford. Don't go down the wrong path. With that, Zimmer turned and walked away. Ethan watched his retreating back, falling into deep thought. Could anyone hoping to complete the accumulation of primitive capital truly avoid the gray areas? It was wishful thinking. Ethan understood the rules of the game intimately. The world wasn't black and white. It was complex. For every beam of light, there was a shadow, and between them lay a vast gray expanse, the playground for speculators and profit seekers. Walking in that gray space was like dancing on a knife's edge, yet countless people flocked to it. Detective Zimmer was a righteous man, perhaps a bit idealistic. What he expected was noble, but not entirely realistic. If he didn't understand that, he would find it hard to survive within the system. Ethan, are we moving on Damien Cross? Henry Payne asked quietly from beside him. Yeah, Ethan smiled. Tomorrow morning, it's time to take out the trash. The next morning, Damien Cross arrived at Maximink, early to arrange his affairs. He needed to lay low for a while. He had just stepped into his office when his attractive assistant rushed in. Mr. Cross, it's bad. There's a group of people outside looking for you. Looking for me? Who? Damien looked up, puzzled. They say they're from West Ford Group, and they seem to have brought people from the Bureau of Commerce, the assistant said anxiously. Damien's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected Ethan Ford to move this fast, but he wasn't afraid. He had a top-tier legal team. He wouldn't panic. All right, let's go see, Damien said, standing up. They went to the front reception area. A dozen people were standing at the entrance, including several wearing badges from the Commerce Bureau and the IRS. What's going on here? Damien asked, his face darkening. A middle-aged man with glasses and a scholarly air stepped forward, introducing himself with enthusiasm. Ah, you must be Mr. Cross of Maximic. Nice to meet you. I'm the legal department manager for West Ford Group, Ross Lawton. West Ford Group, Ross Lawton. Damien looked the man up and down. He was thin and looked completely harmless. That's right. Ross adjusted his glasses and smiled. What are you doing here? Did West Ford send a lawyer to scare me? Damien scoffed. Go call our legal department down here. Moments later, the 5 members of Maxim's legal team arrived, led by their director, Greg Stone. Greg puffed out his chest and confronted Ross. I'm Greg Stone, legal director for Maximic. If you have any business, discuss it with me. What's the meaning of this aggressive visit? Damien stood with his hands behind his back, confident and composed. West Ford sent one lawyer and thought they could cause trouble. He paid his legal team a fortune for a reason. They were experienced in corporate, civil, and criminal law, experts at cleaning up Maxim's messes. Ross faced the 5 of them alone, showing no fear. Instead, he looked calm. Yesterday, an employee of West Ford Group slipped and fell in one of your internet cafes. The floor was excessively slippery, and your staff not only failed to apologize, but also verbally abused and humiliated him. Our employee went to the hospital and was diagnosed with minor injuries. Maximic must be held responsible. I have already filed a lawsuit demanding a public apology and compensation for all losses, including medical bills, nutritional supplements, lost wages, and emotional distress, totaling $15,000. As Ross's voice faded, the people from Maximic looked dumbfounded. What? Is this a joke? Damien stared, eyes wide. He had no idea about this. Besides, someone slipped? Who the hell sues over a slip and fall with this much fanfare? West Ford was definitely here to pick a fight. Ross placed a lawyer's letter on the reception desk and smiled. It's no joke. We've secured the evidence. Bullshit. You're shaking me down. Even if he fell, 15 grand? Is his ass made of gold? Damien raged. Ross pushed up his glasses again, speaking calmly. That employee is a high-level programmer holding a critical position in our group. His 2 days of rest caused our company to lose tens of thousands in profit. Maximic must bear all resulting losses. Damien was furious. He had never met someone so shameless. Greg Stone quickly held him back, afraid the situation would escalate. Mr. Cross, let me handle this. Damien suppressed his anger and let the professionals take over. Greg straightened his suit and addressed Ross. First of all, your claims have not been verified by us. We view your allegations with skepticism and require an internal investigation. Secondly, you're not law enforcement or a judge. You don't get to decide compensation. We deny all your baseless accusations. Hey, you can sue us, but the process will take months. We're happy to play along. Hearing this, the other Maxim staff relaxed. Exactly, they could drag this out. Damien calmed down as well and sneered. Exactly. Ross, you're not a judge. Win the lawsuit first. Ross didn't get angry. His goal was just to stall for time, to keep Damien here. If they wanted to argue, that was fine by him. Oh, right, there are other matters. We had employees consuming alcohol at your bar who became ill. I suspect Maximic. S-bars are selling counterfeit alcohol and have reported it to the Bureau of Commerce. Also, regarding tax issues, there are discrepancies between your disclosed financial reports and actual payroll. I suspect tax evasion. As good citizens, it is our responsibility to report suspicious activity. Veins bulged on Damien's forehead. He wanted to tear Ross apart. This guy was a menace. You're the person in charge, Damien Cross, correct? An officer from the Commerce Bureau asked. Yes, that's me. Damien took a deep breath, trying to force himself to remain calm. We received a report that your businesses are selling counterfeit alcohol. We've already taken samples from your club. Now, we need to investigate your purchase orders, the officer stated seriously. Fine, do whatever you want. But let me say this, Maxim invests in the bars, we don't manage them. If there's a problem, investigate the managers. We're just investors. Of course, check the records all you want, Damien said with a cold sneer. He was confident he had insulated himself well enough. We're with the IRS. We need your cooperation as well. A tax official stepped forward. Whatever, Damien snapped. Greg's face was grim. He shouted at Ross. Ross Lawton, if your reports are false and disrupt our business operations, you will be held liable. I will sue you for malicious interference. Ross shrugged and smiled. Hey, you can sue me, but the process will take months. I'm happy to play along. He threw Greg's own words right back at him. You bastard. Greg nearly coughed up blood. He wanted to curse Ross's entire family, but remembering they were both lawyers, he forced it down, his face turning red. At that moment, the beautiful assistant checked her phone and whispered to Damien, Mr. Cross, your flight. Damien's face sank. If he kept wasting time here, he wouldn't make it. He glared at Ross. Ross, I don't have time to play with you. He turned to head back to his office to grab his luggage. Ross put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, "Trying to leave? I'm afraid you're not going anywhere today." Now, what does that mean? Are you daring to restrict my freedom of movement? Damien stared at him coldly. Ross grinned. I can't, naturally, but some people can. A middle-aged man in a police uniform stepped out from behind Ross. Damien Cross, I'm Detective Kincaid from the Economic Crimes Division. Until the tax issues are cleared up, you need to stay here and cooperate with the investigation. Here is the notice of investigation. What? Economic crimes. Damien's heart sank. Economic crimes was part of the police system. If they open a formal case, he couldn't leave. Fine, I'll cooperate, Damien said, his voice low, but his insides were turning to ice. These people, Ross included, they all seemed to be stalling for time. What were they waiting for? Could it be? Had something happened with Quentin Frost? The thought sent a shiver down Damien's spine, and his anxiety spiked. Time ticked by slowly. Everyone was gathered at the company entrance. Every second was torture for him. He paced back and forth like a cat on a hot tin roof. After about half an hour, he couldn't take it anymore. Officer, I have extremely urgent business to attend to. I'm afraid I can't cooperate any longer. If you have questions, talk to our legal team. Damien gritted his teeth at Kincaid. Damien Cross, you cannot leave. It is in your best interest to cooperate, Kincaid said with a cold face. Damien looked back at Greg Stone. Greg understood and stepped forward. Officer, this is just an investigation. Mr. Cross is not a suspect. You don't have an arrest warrant. If you continue to restrict his freedom, we will file an administrative lawsuit and lodge a formal complaint with your superiors. This is a procedural violation. Hearing this, Damien looked relieved. His legal team was worth the money. Exactly. Violation of procedure. You can't hold me. I'm filing a complaint against the Economic Crimes Division. Damien shouted. He looked at Ross and sneered. Ha! What can you do to me now? Ross checked his watch and smiled. Time should be about right. Damien paused. He didn't know what Ross meant. Time for what? But regardless, he needed to leave and lay low immediately. I don't have time for your games. I'm leaving. Let's see who dares to stop me, Damien said coldly. Idare. A voice boomed from outside the entrance, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. Damien Cross, you aren't going anywhere today. Detective Zimmer strode in, a squad of officers behind him. Zimmer walked right up to Damien, displaying the arrest warrant in his hand. Damien Cross, you are suspected of multiple counts of assault, disruption of business operations, and destruction of property. You are hereby under arrest. Damien felt like he'd been struck by lightning. His face went pale. No, impossible. This is slander. What evidence do you have? Damien slapped the warrant away, screaming hysterically. Zimmer said coldly, Evidence? You should ask Quentin Frost about that. Quentin Frost. Hearing that name, the blood drained from Damien's face completely. Fuck. Quentin actually flipped. He looked up in disbelief, staggering back 2 steps. What Quentin? I don't know him. I don't know him. He's lying. Slander. Damien screamed like a madman, unable to accept that Quentin had sold him out. He had been cautious, planning to run today, but he never expected Quentin, who was calling him brother yesterday, to turn on him today. A bolt of lightning flashed in his mind. Ethan Ford. It must be that kid. What deal did Ethan make with Quentin yesterday? And Westford's legal team blocking the door this morning. They were waiting for the police. This was all Ethan's calculation. Damn it. Now, whether it's slander or not, you can explain it at the station. Cuff him. Zimmer ordered sharply. 2 officers stepped forward to restrain his hands. Damien's eyes were bloodshot as he struggled violently. Stop resisting, one officer shouted. 3 more officers rushed in, swept his legs, pinned him to the ground, and forced the handcuffs onto him. No matter how much he struggled, he couldn't break free. At this moment, Ross took out a second lawyer's letter, squatted down, and held it in front of Damien's face. Damien Cross, this is the official letter from Westford Group. Maximic will be compensating Westford Gaming for all damages, totaling $250,000. Don't worry, they're definitely paying this. All right, don't think I don't know about your illegal loan sharking and debt collection racket. TSK. Add those in, and you'll be spending the rest of your life inside. Damien's eyes bulged, spitting fire as he stared at Ross. He looked like a trapped beast, mentally collapsing in the face of death. Lewis, take him away. Everyone else, stay and collect evidence. Zimmer waved his hand. Yes, sir. Officer Lewis responded. He and another officer hauled Damien up and marched him out. Other officers began searching the office. Zimmer followed Lewis as they escorted Damien downstairs. When they reached the street, the sight of Damien being led away in cuffs caused passers-by to stop and stare. Damien kept his head down, face dark, his eyes darting around. The police car was parked by the curb. One officer went to open the door, leaving just Lewis holding Damien's left arm. Ahead, the traffic light was green. A large tour group was surging across the crosswalk. A flash of madness appeared in Damien's eyes. Taking advantage of Lewis's momentary distraction, he slammed his shoulder into the officer, knocking him aside. Run, run. I won't spend the rest of my life in prison. Absolutely not. Damien bolted, sprinting toward the crowd on the crosswalk with surprising speed. If he could mix in a crowd, he might have a chance. Damn it, Zimmer cursed and immediately gave chase. But before he could catch up, the light turned red. Traffic from both sides began to move. It was dangerous. Zimmer was blocked by the cars, forced to watch as Damien ran into the traffic. Damien ran, looking back over his shoulder. Seeing Zimmer blocked by the cars, a look of wild excitement crossed his face. I have a chance. But the next moment, as he turned his head back around, a box truck was speeding directly toward him. Bam! A massive crash echoed through the street. Damien was sent flying, his body smashing heavily onto a roadside dumpster in the distance. The immense impact snapped his neck back nearly 180 degrees. His corpse hung there in a twisted, horrific posture. Screams erupted from the scene of the accident. The crowd panicked, scattering in chaos. Everyone was terrified by the gruesome sight, instinctively backing away. Check on him. Secure the scene. Zimmer's face was grim as he barked orders. Sir, I'm sorry. Officer Lewis ran up to him, his face full of guilt. Too late for that now. See if he's still alive. Zimmer snapped. They pushed through the crowd to Damien's body. Zimmer looked at the neck bent at an impossible angle and pressed his fingers to the carotid artery. Stone dead. Call the coroner and get a cleanup crew, Zimmer sighed, pulling a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He lit one up. Ideally, he wouldn't have died like this. We lost a major lead. Noon. Ethan Ford sat in his office, staring quietly at the phone on his desk. He was waiting for a call. Ring, ring, ring. The phone buzzed. It was Ross. Ethan picked it up immediately. Hey, Ross. What's the situation? Mr. Ford, Damien Cross is dead. HM? Dead. Ethan was surprised. Over the phone, Ross explained what had happened. Hearing that Damien had been hit by a truck while trying to escape, Ethan felt a mix of amusement and resignation. It seemed Damien was the type of villain who would rather die trying to flee than rot in a cell. The choice didn't entirely surprise Ethan. It was just a pity. With Damien dead, it would be harder to make a move on the Thunder Bay gang. An unexpected outcome. Ethan tapped the table, thinking for a moment. Ross, handle the compensation claim against Maxim. Try to take over their internet cafes. With Damien dead, Maxim will likely go into liquidation. We can take the cafe assets in lieu of cash. Ross instantly understood. The cash wasn't important. The goose that laid the golden eggs was. Understood, boss. I'll get it done. The York Hotel. Temporarily closed, sign hung on the door. Inside the dimly lit lobby, dozens of men were gathered, smoking, filling the air with a thick haze. A middle-aged bald man in a wheelchair emerged from a back room, pushed by Baz Mitchell. Boss Ray. The men stood up to greet him. The bald man looked to be near 50, with dark skin, a large nose, and triangular eyes filled with gloom. This was the leader of the Thunder Bay gang, Ray Young. Boss, I heard Damien Cross is dead. Is it true? A man with an underbite asked quietly. Yeah, it's true. Baz told me. Ray's voice was raspy. Boss, what about the job he hired us for? Do we still do it? Underbite asked. Do it. Of course we do it. If we take money and don't deliver, we'll be a laughingstock. Ray glared at him. Underbite laughed awkwardly and shut up. Ray swept his gaze over the group. If we don't make some noise, how will the streets know Thunder Bay is back? If we don't avenge the past, where do we put our faces? Ray slapped his lifeless legs hard. He had broken them falling into a ravine while running from the police years ago. The bones had died. He would never stand again. The man who had caused him to be a fugitive was Victor Vane. Victor Vane must die. And Ethan Ford must die too. Anyone who goes against Thunder Bay will meet a bad end. Ray slapped the armrest angrily, his expression fierce, suppressing everyone in the room in his silence. After a long while, Ray coughed dryly, calming down slightly. He waved his hand. I called you brothers here today for one thing. I'm old. I'm a cripple. It's hard for me to lead you to make money anymore. Baz has been with me for years. He's loyal and capable. You've all seen it. I intend to pass my cane to Baz. Any objections? The cane was a dragon-head walking stick made of old rosewood. Not valuable in itself, but it symbolized the power to rule this family. Shock appeared on many faces, but no one dared to speak. Since Ray said it, he wasn't asking for opinions. Ray Young was still the law in Thunder Bay. Since there are no objections, it's decided. Ray turned and handed the cane to Baz Mitchell. Thank you, boss. Baz's eyes filled with excitement he couldn't suppress. He gripped the dragon-head cane tightly. Boss, don't worry. I'll handle everything you ordered. Chicago still belongs to us. A week later, near noon, cheers erupted from the academic buildings of Illinois Tech as the bell rang. Students poured out of the classrooms. It was the end of the last final exam. Winter break had begun. Outside the architecture building, Grace Miller walked out with her roommates. She was wearing a navy blue sailor-style coat over a pleated skirt, with skin-tone fleece leggings that showed off her slender figure. She radiated youth and beauty, turning heads as she passed. Grace, how did you do? That site design exam killed me. Chloe Jones linked arms with her. Are you questioning my genius? Easy, obviously, Grace said proudly. Chloe groaned. Of course, Miss Valedictorian. I am doomed. I have no confidence at all. Grace comforted her. Hey, look at it this way. If you fail, there's always the makeup exam. Chloe. Grace, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Dana laughed, covering her mouth. Haha. Don't overthink it, Chloe. What will be. Sue chimed in. Yeah, forget about it. Let's go relax somewhere. Maybe. Pick up some cute guys. Chloe huffed. I wish. Where are these cute guys? Hey, cute guy right here. A voice suddenly popped up from behind the four of them. Chloe jumped, startled. She turned around to see Wayne Tank Turner. Ugh, Tank, why are you here? Don't you have exams? Chloe asked, surprised. My major finished early. I'm here with Ethan, Tank said, looking a bit guilty. Grace narrowed her eyes at him. I feel like you came specifically to see Chloe. Grace, what are you saying? Chloe glared at her, blushing furiously. By the way, where is Ethan? Chloe quickly changed the subject. Grace looked around, but didn't see him. Yeah, Tank, where's that jerk? You said you came with him. Tank smiled mysteriously. Hee, sister-in-law. Ethan is waiting for you at a special spot. He said to celebrate you finishing exams. He has a big surprise for you. Grace paused. What surprise? Tank grinned mischievously. Ethan said if you asked, I should make you guess. So guess. Then, she put a hand on Tank's shoulder and said calmly, Tank, remember this. The roads are slippery and society is complex. Don't learn bad habits from that jerk. Do you understand? Seeing the murderous intent in Grace's eyes, Tank felt his hair stand on end. He swallowed hard. Cough, I understand. Spit it out. My patience is limited. Grace huffed. Okay. Ethan got you a giant teddy bear. It's hidden in the trunk. Tank confessed without hesitation. Grace's face finally softened into a smile. All right then. That jerk can be romantic sometimes. Chloe covered her mouth. Oh no. I smell public displays of affection coming. Donna saw enviously. TSK. Someone's getting gifts from her boyfriend again. And here we are, single as hell. Sigh. When will we get treated like that? PSH, it's not that special. Grace pretended to be nonchalant, but her sweet smile gave her away. Despite her words, her heart was melting. My Ethan is the best. Tank, lead the way. Take me to him. Grace commanded. Yes, your highness. Right this way. Tank acted like a loyal servant, gesturing forward. Chloe was amused. Tank, you have great potential as a lackey. If you want to experience it, I could be your lackey too, Tank joked. Chloe blushed and spat. I don't want that. Grace urged him on. Stop flirting, you two. You have plenty of time later. This made Chloe even more embarrassed. Oh, who's flirting? I'm not. Let's go. We want to see the gift too. Tank led the four girls to the parking lot. Sure enough, they saw Ethan's car. The black Mercedes S320 stood out conspicuously among the dozen or so Tauruses and Accords. Oh my God. OMG. Is that Ethan's car? Chloe's jaw nearly dropped. She knew Ethan's company was doing well, but she didn't realize how well. Just looking at the car, she could tell it was in a different league. Holy cow. That must be 70 or 80,000, right? Dana stared, clicking her tongue. Tank chuckled. 70,000 buys half of it. That car is over 100 grand. What? Over $100,000. The three girls shouted in unison, stunned by the price tag. Sue twitched her lips. In 1999, the average disposable income was like $6,000 a year. Monthly salary is barely $700. To buy this car, it would take a normal person 200 years. Grace, your boyfriend is loaded. I have to admit, I'm jealous. I want a boyfriend like that. Dana nadiduyethly. Yes. Me too. Grace, your guy is rich. Hearing them praise Ethan, Grace felt a little proud. She lifted her chin. Of course. The man Grace Miller chooses can't be bad. Chloe teased. All right, your tail is wagging up to the sky. Show us the gift. Grace turned to Tank. Tank, where is he? If he's not here, how we get the gift? I don't know. Maybe he went to the bathroom. But I have the keys. Tank pulled the Mercedes key fob from his pocket. Quick, open the trunk, Grace said expectantly, running to the back of the car. The other 3 girls followed, all staring curiously to see the teddy bear. A weird smile appeared on Tank's face. Ready? I'm opening it. Cut the crap, hurry up. Grace shot him a look. Tank pressed the trunk release button. The electric trunk lid rose automatically. Suddenly, boing, a round, dark shadow sprang out from the trunk. It was a disheveled, gruesome demon head. Ghost! The sudden appearance of the demon head scared the 3 girls out of their wits. They screamed in high pitch, instinctively hiding behind Grace, their legs trembling. Surprise! Ethan suddenly jumped out from behind a neighboring car. Ha! Grace gotcha! Ha ha ha! Ethan threw his head back and laughed triumphantly. He had been waiting to see Grace jump, but the next moment his laughter cut off abruptly. Grace grabbed the demon head, which was attached to a spring. She flicked it with her finger, watching it wobble back and forth. Ethan, you think this thing can scare me? It seems. You're still too naive. As soon as she finished speaking, Grace twisted her hand, and snap, she ripped the demon head right off the spring. Ethan and Tank sucked in a breath of cold air simultaneously. Tank clutched his own neck, as if it were his head being twisted off. Ethan, bro, I did this for you. You have to save me. Grace looked at Ethan with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Nice one, Ethan. Playing spy games with me. You had Tank pretend to confess, so I'd lower my guard, then hit me with this big surprise, right? I saw through it ages ago. Ethan laughed dryly. This counts as a surprise too, right? Grace weighed the head in her hand and looked at Tank. Tank, you and Ethan are brothers. You translate for me. What is a surprise? Translate for me. What is a surprise? What counts as a surprise? Tank wiped his cold sweat, laughing awkwardly. A surprise is when you are surprised and happy. Chloe patted her chest, still shaken. What the hell? That was just terror. Grace, get them. Yeah, I support you. I'll cheer you on. Dana shouted aggressively, wanting revenge for the scare. Grace tossed the head aside, clasped her hands behind her back, and walked up to Ethan. With the cutest smile and sweetest voice, she said, Ethan, if you don't give me a good explanation, how would you like me to deal with you? Ethan immediately adopted a defensive stance, quickly explaining. Grace, honey, let's talk. Tank translated it right. It really is a surprise. Look inside the head. That's the real gift. Oh, let me see. Grace turned back, picked up the head, pried open the toy's mouth, and saw a piece of paper inside. She pulled it out, unfolded it, and froze. Ethan. Is this real? Can we really? Grace looked at Ethan with a face full of anticipation. Of course. Isn't this one of your wishes? I told you. I'll help you fulfill every one, Ethan said dotingly. Ethan, you're the best. Grace excitedly rushed over and hugged him, bouncing up and down like a child. This scene left the other 3 girls completely confused. Chloe looked bewildered. Grace, how did your face change faster than flipping a page? What kind of surprise makes you this happy? Grace, what is the surprise? Chloe asked curiously. Grace hopped down from Ethan and showed them the slip of paper. It had 2 lines of text. Future home design coupon. Issuer. Ethan Universe's most handsome Ford. Holder may redeem this coupon for an 8,600 square foot lot. Includes full budget for all design requirements. It's a house. Grace beamed. She had always wanted to design a home that belonged completely to her and Ethan. She just hadn't expected Ethan to procure an 8,600 square foot plot of land. Holy cow, 8,600 square feet. Are you crazy? Chloe's jaw dropped. Most people lived in apartments of maybe 700 or 800 square feet. This was 10 times that size. My God, that's a mansion. Ethan, buying this land must have been expensive, right? Grace worried. She was mainly concerned about whether spending so much money would affect his company's operations. Ethan patted her head and smiled. Didn't cost much. About 300,000. I saw someone selling it recently, so I picked it up. It was cheap. It was indeed cheap. The house was located on Emerald Point, an old industrial residential island area. The existing building was a dilapidated pre-war structure. Ethan had bought it just as it hit the market. Few people were buying those old, rundown properties right now, and Emerald Point was considered a bit desolate and far from the current downtown core. The price he paid was incredibly low, something like $40 a square foot. But no one could guess that in 20 years, Emerald Point real estate would skyrocket to averages of over $2,000 a square foot, a 50-fold increase. Just this one plot of land would be worth over $15 million in 2 decades. Of course, besides this lot, Ethan had his eye on core areas in other cities: New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco. As Westford Group grew and net profits exceeded $10 million, he planned to allocate funds to acquire more fixed assets as an investment in future appreciation. The domestic real estate market was about to take off. He wouldn't become a developer, but that wouldn't stop him from positioning himself for the future. 300,000? That's not much. Chloe covered her mouth in shock. Is it a lot? Buying now is cheap. I advise you all, if you have money, buy a house early. Ethan smiled. Chloe rolled her eyes helplessly. Mr. Moneybags, do you think we're all rich like you? Do you know how expensive houses are? It takes my dad 2 months of salary just to buy 1 square foot. Ethan chuckled. If you don't buy now, in a few years, it might take a whole year's salary to buy 1 square foot. Chloe sighed. Forget it. I can't even think about it now, let alone later. Anyway, Grace, can you take us to see it? I want to see what an 8,000 square foot house looks like. Grace said generously. No problem. I need to scout the site to design it anyway. Tomorrow is the weekend. Let's go together. Oh yeah, awesome. The 3 girls cheered. Grace turned and linked her arm through Ethan's, asking coquettishly, Ethan, do you have time to take us tomorrow? Bring a camera and measuring tape. I want to take pictures and measurements so I can start drawing the blueprints. Sure, I don't have anything going on. I'll take you all tomorrow, Ethan said lovingly. Yay, great. I love you, Ethan. Grace spun around in excitement, her smile radiant and heart-stopping. He watched her, his eyes filled with affection, a relieved smile on his lips. Designing a future home for the 2 of them was Grace's wish. She had majored in architecture specifically to design this home. To fulfill her wish, Ethan wouldn't hesitate to spend millions. As long as she was happy, it was all worth it. In this life, he didn't want to leave any regrets. Perhaps, he just wanted to make up for the regrets of the past. Gurgle. Grace's stomach suddenly protested. Ethan, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. Grace hung on to him like an accessory. Okay, look at you starving. Let's go eat. Ethan laughed. Are you girls coming? He looked at Grace's roommates. Chloe refused immediately. I'm not going just to watch you 2 be lovey-dovey. Dana and Sue nodded in agreement. Right. We refuse to be third wheels. They just wanted to give Grace and Ethan some space alone. All right then, we're off to eat. Grace said happily. Ethan patted Tank's shoulder. Tank, trouble you to drive. Yeah, no problem. How can I miss out on good food? Tank licked his lips, looking eager. With Tank driving, Ethan and Grace sat in the back. The Mercedes pulled away under the gaze of the crowd. Inside the car, Grace held Ethan's hand and suddenly asked, Ethan, why did you suddenly think of buying a house for me to redesign? Tell me, do you have ulterior motives? Ethan chuckled mischievously. What ulterior motives? You're overthinking it. I just thought about having a home for the future. Somewhere we can have 3 meals a day. And sleep in. Sleep in. Grace paused. Why emphasize that? Yeah, I want a big bedroom. That way, we can make sure we really enjoy the mornings, Ethan whispered with a grin. You know, rise and shine. Rise and shine. Grace suddenly realized what he meant. Her face turned apple red instantly. Ethan, you are so annoying. Grace blushed, pounding her small fists on his chest. If I don't believe you. This jerk really dared to say anything. But, was she afraid of him? She wasn't scared. Ethan caught her small fists and said cheekily, What? Do you doubt my stamina? Grace, having experienced the rain and clouds of Wushan, wasn't as shy as before. She blushed, stiffened her neck, and said, Yes, I doubt your ability. Unless you prove it to me tonight. Tonight? Your place or mine? Ethan Ford teased, a mischievous glint in his eye. Ever since Grace Miller had been caught by Mary Ford coming out of Ethan's room that one morning, Mary had been relentlessly pestering him about when he'd bring Grace home again. She was acting like a mother-in-law eager to see her daughter-in-law. Go to hell. Grace shot him an embarrassed glare, her cheeks flushing. The two of them continued to whisper sweet nothings in the back seat, leaving Wayne Tank Turner, who was driving, feeling thoroughly bored and exasperated. Hey, you two, cut out back there, Tank grumbled. Have some mercy on the single guy, all right? We need protection too. You guys are just chatting away in your own little world. I'm bored out of my mind driving this thing. Ethan squeezed Grace's hand and quipped, Tank, nobody told you to stay single. If you got the time to complain, go find yourself a girlfriend. I'm certainly not stopping you. A girlfriend? My girlfriend must be missing in action. I can't find her anywhere. Who knows which future mother-in-law's house she's hiding in right now, Tank joked. Grace ruthlessly exposed him. Oh, come on. Haven't you and Chloe been getting along pretty well lately? I seem to remember someone taking Chloe out for dinner last week. Are you going to deny it now? Tank's face turned a deep shade of red, and he stammered. We just grabbed a bite as friends. It was nothing. Grace covered her mouth, giggling. All right then, if you say so. I'll be sure to pass that exact message along to Chloe. Don't. Please don't. That's not cool. Tank hurriedly pleaded. See? Now you're nervous. Grace lectured him like a seasoned pro. Tank, honestly, if you like her, just go for it. Why are you dragging your feet? You're not making pulled noodles here. Tank let out a dry laugh. Since when did our school beauty become a relationship expert? I'm not listening to you. Hey, if you don't listen to the voice of experience, you're the one who's going to lose out, Grace said, feigning an air of wisdom beyond her years. Ethan reached out and pinched her cute nose, laughing. Look at you, acting like a little know-it-all. Leave him be. That's their business. If it's meant to be, they'll find their way to each other naturally. Fate is a mysterious thing. Once you meet the right person, that's it for life. It's all destiny. Grace stuck out her tongue. I'm just trying to give them an assist. Besides, even Cupid takes a nap sometimes. What if he shoots the wrong arrow? Sometimes the person you meet isn't necessarily the right one. Ethan's heart trembled slightly at her words. It was true. Who could ever really know if they had met the truly right person? Wasn't he a living example of that lesson? Ethan nodded with a rare seriousness. Grace, you're right. From the driver's seat, Tank suddenly asked, Ethan, tomorrow, can I tag along? Of course you can. Why? Because Chloe is coming. You want to come too? Ethan saw right through him. I'm just going to be the driver. And maybe relax for a couple of days. Tank chuckled sheepishly. All right, wrap up your work. Tomorrow, bring the Audi. We'll start from a neighborhood and head to Emerald Point for a 2-day trip, Ethan said, waving his hand. No problem. Tank replied happily. After the three of them had lunch, Ethan and Grace spent the afternoon shopping. They bought all sorts of camping gear and equipment, tents, cookware, portable gas stoves, along with plenty of food and snacks. Although the old houses on Emerald Point were still standing, they had been abandoned for a long time. The area was remote, and the utilities had been cut off. Without camping gear, staying overnight would be impossible. Plus, Grace wanted to watch the sunrise over the river from the point, so the gear would definitely come in handy. Emerald Point was a small landmass situated in the river, covering a significant area surrounded by water on all sides. The scenery was excellent, and locals often used the nearby banks for leisure. The river sunrise was particularly famous. Since Grace wanted to see the property and check out the surrounding environment to design their future house herself, Ethan was more than happy to grant her wish unconditionally. By the time they finished stocking up, it was already dark. Ethan drove them back to the Mill residential compound. After they went upstairs, Ethan held her hand and asked with a grin, so tonight, I want to sleep at my place. Grace blushed and glared at him. Keep dreaming. My dad called me home for dinner. Ethan smiled helplessly. All right then, we'll talk about it later. Grace gave him a shy, exasperated look. Talk about your big head. Hurry up and go back. I have to go eat. She let go of his hand, spun around in a circle, and smiled sweetly. Bye-bye, my dear Ethan. With that, she opened her door and slipped inside. Ethan shook his head and sighed. Looks like I'm sleeping alone in an empty room again tonight. Pause. It's all good food. Why differentiate who likes what? This child, so big and still a picky eater. Lily wiped her hands on her apron and scolded. Grace. Mom, are you really my biological mother? Great. I finally understand what a double standard feels like. All right, sit down and eat. George sat down and waved her over. Grace sat and spooned herself some soup. Lily took off her apron and sat next to her. As Grace drank her soup, she suddenly felt 2 pairs of eyes staring straight at her. She looked up, glancing left and right, and found George and Lily looking at her with a very strange gaze. There was a look of gratification in their eyes, as if thinking, the child has grown up. Mom, Dad, why are you looking at me? Drink your soup, Grace said, bewildered. George coughed dryly, pondered for a moment, and said, Grace, we have something we want to ask you. About that last time you... Before he could finish, Lily interrupted immediately. Grace, how many kids do you and Ethan plan to have? Grace, Mom, what are you saying? What kids? Grace wiped her mouth, her face flushed red with embarrassment and annoyance. I was just asking, do you need to have such a big reaction? Lily rolled her eyes at her. Grace wiped the sweat from her forehead. Mom, I haven't even thought about that kind of question. Besides, isn't it a little too early to be talking about kids? Lily smiled. Fine, that's for you two to discuss. I'm just asking. You don't have a plan? Grace was stunned, her face burning. What plan? We don't have any plan right now. George coughed twice. Ahem. Lily, Grace is only a freshman in college. No ruse. Hearing this, Lily didn't push the issue further. Forget it. Let's just eat. Grace felt the pressure of parental expectation for the first time. She finished the meal in record time and scrambled back to her room, leaning against the headboard of her bed, hugging her pink pig plushie. Mom is really something. Thinking about grandkids so soon? No, wait, do all older people think like this? She muttered to herself, lifting the pink pig by one leg, her face still flushed. But how can I say for sure about something like that on my own? It takes two to tango. It still depends on that stinky Ethan. Why am I thinking about this? I still have so many wishes I haven't fulfilled yet. Mr. Piggy, if we did have a kid, what should we name them? Why aren't you talking? I treat you so well usually. Grace smiled and pinched the pink pig's nose. Are you going to talk? If you won't say it, I will. If you agree, nod. If you disagree, shake your head. If it's a boy, Ethan Jr. If it's a girl, Ellie. The pink pig nodded with Grace's help. You think those are good names too? Hee, that's nonsense. If Ethan found out, he'd beat you up sooner or later. Grace laughed. The pink pig shook its head. What? You think the names I picked are bad? Detestable. The deadly crosslock. Grace wrapped her arms firmly around the pink pig's neck. You dare say my names are bad? Then what kind of names can you come up with? Tell me. Grace brought the pig's head close to hers. Pink pig. Looks like you're illiterate. Forget it. Asking you is a waste of time. Grace shook her head in disappointment and kicked the pig off the bed. Knock, knock, knock. A knock sounded at the door. Lily opened the door and walked in, asking suspiciously, Grace, who were you talking to just now? I heard murmuring. Grace smiled awkwardly. No one. I wasn't talking. You must have heard wrong, Mom. Regarding the kid issue, she was actually a bit conflicted. On one hand, she wanted it. On the other, she felt it was too early. She had so many dreams left to chase. If she had a child, where would the time go? That was the cause of her little schizophrenic scene just now. But she figured out. Let nature take its course. Why worry so much? Let heaven decide. Lily closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed, smiling gently. Grace, your dad was out there earlier, so I couldn't really have a girl-to-girl talk with you. Now that it's just the two of us, I won't beat around the bush. Mom, what do you want to say? Grace asked, confused. Lily leaned in closer and lowered her voice. That last time, did you spend the night at Ethan's? Grace tried to find an excuse, but was cut off. Hey, don't argue. No. Don't try to explain. Mary told me everything. With the relationship between our two families, what is there to hide? You can't keep secrets from me. Lily said seriously. Okay, I admit it. Grace could only reply helplessly. Lily revealed a smile that was a mix of excitement and relief. Mama's been there. Mom understands. And do I look like an old conservative? It's the new millennium. Your mom is open-minded. So? Grace scratched her head. Lily whispered a reminder. Young people understand liking a bit of excitement. That's why I asked you about kids today. But looking at you, it seems you don't want them that soon. If that's really the case, you two need to remember to carry a raincoat. You must remember. A raincoat? Mom, it hasn't rained lately. Why would I need a raincoat? Grace asked, completely baffled. Lily knocked on her head, looking at her like she couldn't believe her daughter was this dense. Not that raincoat. It's the little raincoat. Huh? Which one? Grace was lost in the fog. Just that one. You don't know? No way, have you guys? Never used one. Lily looked at her with surprise. Mom, what are you saying? Use what? Can you stop speaking in riddles? Grace groaned. Oh, it's just a little raincoat, Lily said, then leaned in and whispered something in her ear. Grace's face instantly turned as red as an apple. You mean that? Of course I mean that. You haven't used one? Lily asked curiously. Grace lowered her head and shook it. She wanted to find a crack in the floor to crawl into. Even though it was a private chat between mother and daughter, she was curling her toes so hard she could have dug out a castle. Seeing her reaction, Lily suddenly realized the situation and smiled knowingly. I get it now. You two handle it yourselves. Mom won't stop you. Hey, Mom, what are you saying? Stop talking. I'm sleepy. I'm sleepy. Grace stood up, pulled her mother up, and pushed her out the door. Lily stood outside as the door clicked shut behind her. This child. Her skin is so thin. But does this mean I might get to hold a grandbaby sooner rather than later? Lily couldn't help but chuckle. Inside the room, Grace leaned against the wall, taking a deep breath to calm her emotions. Thinking about it carefully, Mom seemed to have a point. If she didn't want kids this fast, shouldn't they use that thing? But that thing, where do you buy it? The hospital? A convenience store? That would be mortifying. If she had to go buy it with her thin skin, she definitely couldn't bring herself to do it. Grace thought for a moment, pondering. Maybe make that stinky Ethan go buy it. Grace, what are you doing hiding in your room? Suddenly, Ethan's teasing voice came from outside the window. Grace walked over and pulled open the curtains. Ethan was leaning on the windowsill, cracking sunflower seeds. Grace, what's with your face? Why is it so red? Do you have a fever? Ethan asked with concern. No, nothing. Maybe it's just a little hot. Grace pouted, making an excuse. Whoosh, the north wind howled, and a gust of cold air poured in. Ethan's mouth twitched. It's 50 degrees out, and you say it's hot. Confess. Were you secretly thinking about me until you blushed? If your head is so big, don't flatter yourself. I wasn't. Grace said haughtily. Ethan, should we buy that thing? I'm stating this first, you go buy it. Ethan paused. What thing? Just that thing, the thing used for that. Grace explained, her face burning. Ethan, what this thing, that thing? What exactly is it? Speak up, it's just the two of us. Ethan pressed. Grace blushed furiously and finally summoned her courage to shout. It's a raincoat. Her voice was definitely loud enough. Ethan heard it clearly. Not just Ethan, but the neighbors on the left and right downstairs heard it too. Clack. A little girl opened her window, stuck her head out, and yelled, What? Buy a raincoat? Is it going to rain? The next morning at 7 o'clock, Grace dragged a suitcase and knocked on Ethan's door. A moment later, the door opened. It was Mary Ford. Seeing Grace, Mary's eyes crinkled into a smile, delighted. Oh my, Grace is here. Come on in. Why do you have a suitcase? Where are you going? Grace entered and replied sweetly. Annie Mary, Ethan and I agreed to go out for a trip for 2 days. What? Is he not up yet? Hearing this, Mary was overjoyed. That's wonderful. Go have fun. Stay out for a few more days if you want. Grace. That doesn't sound like something she used to say. That lazy worm probably isn't up yet. Go wake him up. I'll make you guys breakfast. Mary laughed. Okay, Annie. Grace responded, put down her suitcase, and trotted to Ethan's room. She didn't knock, just barged right in. Master Ethan, time to get up. But as soon as the door opened, she saw Ethan standing there in red boxers, changing clothes. Whoa, Grace, can you knock first? Ethan was startled. Grace pouted, dismissive. What's the big deal? It's not like I haven't seen it before. Ethan. Fine, you win. Wait a second. Let me put my clothes on before you come in. Grace feigned calmness, walked into the room, closed the door, and crossed her arms. Then change. I'll just watch from here. Ethan scoffed. Since he had thick skin anyway, who was afraid of whom? Then I'm taking the boxers off. Ethan made a move to pull them down. Grace's face flushed, and she hurriedly turned her head away. Little one, trying to fight me? Is your skin as thick as mine? Ethan laughed shamelessly. You're thick. Your skin is the thickest. Oomph. Grace huffed. A moment later, Ethan finished dressing and patted her shoulder. All right, I'm decent. Grace finally turned back to see Ethan fully dressed in a black wool coat, looking quite elegant. The stinky guy is actually a little handsome. The kind that grows on you. Suddenly, Ethan stepped close, pinning her against the door with both hands, bringing his face close to hers. Ethan, what are you doing? Grace stiffened against the door, afraid to move. For peeking at me just now, I have to give you a little punishment. Ethan smiled. As soon as the words fell, he lowered his head and kissed her. MH. Grace's eyes widened. Her cheeks instantly dyed with a blush, her little heart beating so fast it felt like it would jump out. Just as Ethan's hands were about to wander, Mary shouted from outside, Grace, Ethan, come out for breakfast. Ethan reluctantly let her go, scraping her little nose and whispering with a snicker, Little one, let's see if you dare be so arrogant next time. Grace blushed and glared at him. What? Does stinky Ethan want to rebel against me? Reverse joint lock. Oh, it hurts. Let go. Her Highness Grace is invincible. After breakfast, Ethan checked the time. It was almost 8. Mom, we're heading out. We probably won't be back until the day after tomorrow. Ethan grabbed his luggage and called out to his mother. Mary walked out holding a feather duster, smiling broadly. Oh, no rush, no rush. Is 2 days enough? You can stay out for a few more days. Ethan's mouth twitched. Why did it feel like his mom couldn't wait to kick them out? Okay, we're going then, Ethan said, helping Grace with her luggage as they left. Downstairs, they got into the car. As soon as Grace sat in the passenger seat, she asked, blushing, that thing we talked about last night. Did you buy it? Ethan grinned mischievously. I ran out last night to buy it. It's in my pocket. Want to see? No, I won't look. Who wants to see that thing? Grace turned her head away in embarrassment. Hee, we'll need it sooner or later anyway. Ethan laughed wickedly. Grace shyly slapped his shoulder and glared. Just drive the car. Ethan started the engine, and the Mercedes left the neighborhood, heading to UIC to meet Tank. At the entrance of the University of Illinois at Chicago, Ethan saw Tank and Chloe eating bagels. Tank was driving Ethan's old Audi A6. Ethan pulled up in front of them and greeted, Hello, Tank, Chloe. Been waiting long? No, not really. We just got here. Ethan, want a bagel? Sausage and egg. Tank mumbled with his mouth full. No thanks, you guys eat. We had breakfast. If everyone's ready, let's head out. Target, Emerald Point. Ethan laughed. Hearing they were leaving, Chloe cheered and hopped into the passenger seat of the Audi. Tank glanced back at Chloe, then suddenly looked bashful. He leaned over and whispered in Ethan's ear, Ethan, I want to prepare a surprise gift for Chloe. I already bought it. When the time comes, I need you to back me up. Ethan's eyes lit up, and he teased. All right, Tank, you learn fast. Looks like you've got feelings for Chloe. Don't worry, as your bro. I support you 100%. What are you two whispering about? Grace suddenly leaned over, trying to eavesdrop. No, nothing, just talking about the trip. Let's go immediately. Tank hurriedly covered up. Tank went back to the Audi and started the car. Chloe also asked suspiciously, what were you guys talking about for so long? Tank chuckled simply. Nothing much, just a small matter. Small matter. Chloe looked at Tank skeptically. She felt like Tank was acting weird today, unnatural, like he was hiding something from them. Really? You guys aren't planning some prank again, are you? Chloe suspected. Tank straightened his face and said righteously, How is that possible? Do I look like that kind of person? Chloe pondered for a moment and nodded. You don't look like it. You are it. Tank. Cough, that's prejudice. Prejudice. Anyway, we have to go. Seeing Ethan's car start to move, Tank quickly followed. On the road, Chloe looked at the passing scenery out the window, her face full of novelty and excitement. Tank drove, stealing glances at Chloe's pretty profile. His heart skipped a beat. From this angle, Chloe looked even prettier. Tank, why are you looking at me? Chloe saw Tank's reflection in the window clearly and asked suddenly. Cough, nothing. Just thought you looked pretty. Tank stammered for a while, but finally spoke his honest thoughts. Chloe turned her head, covering her mouth with a smile. Tank, your eyesight is pretty good. Chloe said happily, but I'm so annoyed lately. I feel like I've gained a little weight again. Tank took another look and said seriously, Yeah, you do look a little fatter. Need to diet. Chloe. Tank, forget it. Just stop talking. Does your mother know you're this honest? Tank answered very seriously. She knows. My mom taught me from a young age to be honest and grounded. Chloe slapped her forehead, exasperated but amused. She nodded. Yeah, nice. You are definitely honest. Tank thought she was praising him and gave a silly laugh. Silence fell inside the car again. It was Chloe who broke the awkward atmosphere, actively finding a topic. I heard from Grace that you had a girlfriend before. Yeah, had one. Later, we broke up. Tank laughed dryly. He said they broke up, but he had actually been cheated on. But he really couldn't bring himself to say it. Thinking of his ex-girlfriend Sally, his heart still felt a dull ache. It was like a thorn left deep in his memory. Why did you break up? Chloe asked curiously. Tank was silent for a moment. Maybe our personalities weren't a match. Oh, I see. Chloe responded casually, but she could tell from his tone that Tank was definitely the one who got dumped. People who got dumped usually use that excuse. Hey, there are plenty of fish in the sea. The world is full of beautiful women. Tell me what kind you like. Maybe I can help you scout one out. Chloe laughed. Tank blushed and said in a joking tone, What if I like someone like you? Chloe's face turned red, and she turned her head away. What are you saying? What's good about me? I'm crazy all day long. Tank laughed foolishly. Being crazy is good. You don't hide things in your heart. It's cheerful. Living like that is clearer. Being praised, Chloe felt a little sweetness in her heart. But on the surface, she pretended to be reserved. I'm not as good as you say. But inside, she started to wonder secretly. Does Tank really have feelings for me? Does he? Doesn't he? To be honest, she kinda liked this silly big guy. He was real. Even if he didn't know romance or sweet talk, sometimes his clumsiness was cute. She didn't know why the word cute would apply to a big grown man, but it was the only word that fit. Crap, why am I thinking about this? Chloe turned her head away blushing, not wanting Tank to see her red face. Chloe, actually, you really are great, Tank said suddenly. Anyway, in my heart, you're a really good girl. I just said you didn't know sweet talk. Looks like I have to take that back. But I mean it. All right then, I'll take it as a compliment. Huh. Chloe laughed, and Tank laughed along with her. He dropped his left hand and squeezed the left pocket of his jacket. Inside was a small box, the gift he wanted to give Chloe. He was thinking of using this trip to close the distance between them. Hopefully, everything goes smoothly. Meanwhile, Ethan dropped his left hand to his pocket, fingers brushing against the box of condoms he had stashed there. He smirked to himself. With this trip, maybe he and Grace could finally take things to the next level. Hopefully, he could find the right moment. Stinky Ethan, what are you laughing at? Why do you have that sleazy grin on your face? Grace turned to glare at him. Doi. How can an upstanding gentleman like me smile sleazily? That was a smile of pure sunshine. Ethan argued with a straight face. Sunshine? Do you think I'm blind? It was clearly sleazy. Tell me, are you thinking dirty thoughts? Grace interrogated him. Absolutely not. That is slander, pure and simple. I'll sue you for defamation. Ethan declared righteously. Grace reached out and pinched his thigh. Ow. Grace, why did you pinch me? If I know you too well. You're just making excuses. I'll deal with you when we get there. Grace huffed. Ethan chuckled mischievously. Deal with me? How exactly do you plan to deal with me? Actually, I know all the positions you like. Grace's face burned crimson, and she shot him a warning look. Ethan Ford, I think your skin is itching for a beating. I'm ignoring you. I'm a villain. About an hour later, the two cars crossed the bridge and entered Emerald Point. Once inside the point, scattered self-built houses and a few old villas were visible, but the rest was largely overgrown and undeveloped. No one would have guessed that this inconspicuous little island would, 20 years later, become the most expensive real estate in the city, the premier district for the wealthy. In the future, high-end gated communities, villa clusters, hospitals, schools, large leisure parks, and golf courses would rise here, becoming the city's crowning jewel. Rich people would fight tooth and nail just to buy a property here. Ethan drove halfway around Emerald Point to the northwest corner. From here, looking west, one could see the surging river. Looking east, the city skyline, a perfect blend of river view and urban landscape. This location was the core of the core. The car slowly pulled into a dilapidated estate. The perimeter was walled with red bricks, roughly plastered with cement, looking very simple and unfinished. Inside the estate stood 3 red brick houses. Each footprint was about 2,000 square feet, and with a courtyard, the whole property was nearly 9,000 square feet. These houses were clearly from a previous era, long since abandoned. The owner, a middle-aged man in his 40s, had inherited the property. Because his business was losing money and he needed cash fast, he had listed it for sale. The houses were currently uninhabitable, and the yard was overgrown. Combined with his urgent need to sell, Ethan had managed to snag it at a bargain price. This was one of the largest lots in the area. Knocking it down to rebuild would definitely result in one of the premier mansions on Emerald Point. The cars parked in the desolate courtyard. Ethan stepped out, and Grace followed close behind. Ethan looked at the 3 rundown structures before him and smiled. Grace, this is it. This is our future home. Grace looked around in shock. It's so big. Big? It's okay. It's not like it's an acre or anything. Ethan smiled. He had seen luxury estates around the world that spanned dozens of acres. He could afford those too, but it wasn't necessary. Living in a place that huge wasn't always a good thing. An acre? Ethan, what are you dreaming about? I don't want to live somewhere that huge. Grace shook her head. True, this size is a bit cozy, but it'll do. Rebuilding it into a new villa should be nice. Ethan laughed. You call this cozy? Grace slapped her forehead. Ethan, isn't this too expensive? I feel like it's too much. Ethan gently pulled her into his arms, speaking dotingly. It's not expensive. Not at all. My dear Grace, this is a special gift for you. A future home for you to design with your own hands. In the future, us, our parents, our sons and daughters, we'll all live here. From now on, this home is in your hands. Grace's nose tingled, and tears welled up in her eyes. She nodded heavily. I'll put my heart into designing it. Designing a house of their own had always been one of her big dreams. The fact that Ethan had spent a fortune to buy this land specifically for her to design moved her deeply. She secretly vowed to turn this future home into something perfect. Silly girl, why are you crying? Ethan chuckled softly, comforting her by patting her head. If I'm just happy. Grace wiped away a tear, broke into a radiant smile, and hugged Ethan tightly. The two stood there, locked in a tight embrace. Hey, you two start rubbing it in as soon as you get out of the car, just ignoring the two single dogs here. Chloe teased, walking over quickly. Ethan, maybe we should step aside? Tank followed, asking. Grace quickly let go of Ethan. Her cheeks flushed, but she still maintained her haughty attitude. If you're capable, why don't you two show off some PDA too? Chloe glanced back at Tank and spat. Show off what? There's no opportunity. If there's no opportunity, you can create one. Right, Tank? Grace hinted heavily. Tank's face turned red, and he stammered, well about that. My sister-in-law is right. All right, while it's still light out, let's split up and take some photos. Grace needs to sketch a floor plan and record the house and surroundings to help with her design later. Ethan changed the subject to save Tank and Chloe from the awkwardness. Ethan, I'll go with you. Tank was the first to raise his hand and shout. Tank's urgency made it obvious something was up. The two girls didn't understand and looked confused, but Ethan knew exactly what was going on. He nodded. Sure, Tank can come with me to take photos. They grabbed the cameras from the car. Ethan and Tank started documenting the property from the left side of the house. What's up with them? Why are they acting so mysterious? Chloe asked, puzzled. Who knows? That stinky Ethan is definitely hiding something from me too. Grace's intuition was razor sharp. Whatever, forget them. Grace, I saw the scenery outside is beautiful. Let's go take photos by the yard entrance. You have to take some glamour shots for me. Chloe dragged Grace away. Meanwhile, Ethan and Tank arrive at the side of the house and watch the two girls exit the gate. Ethan, do you think, if I suddenly give Chloe a gift, will she be weirded out? What if she rejects it? Tank whispered, looking worried. Ethan handed him a cigarette and scoffed. Tank, chasing girls requires thick skin and a bold heart. First off, if your skin isn't thick enough, how are you going to chase Chloe Jones? Relax. Just give it to her. Whether she accepts it is her business, but you have to take this step. Tank thought about it and felt it made sense. Doing something was better than doing nothing. If he didn't make a move, was he expecting the girl to make the first move? All right, Ethan, I'll listen to you. Tank nodded solemnly. Ethan lit his cigarette and asked curiously, by the way, what gift are you giving Chloe? Let me see. Tank pulled a box out of his pocket. It was a blue and white box with English writing on it and a lipstick logo on the side. Lipstick? The packaging looks pretty fancy, Ethan observed. Tank scratched his head sheepishly. Yeah, I found out last time that Chloe's favorite makeup is lipstick, but she doesn't have much money and has been saving up to buy a new one. I went to an import store specifically to find this for her. It's some foreign brand. Estee something. I don't really get it, but the owner said it's very popular abroad. It wasn't cheap either. This one tube cost over $100. Ethan was surprised. Nice work, Tank. You really invested this time. Tank was the type of guy who liked to save money no matter how much he earned. He usually wouldn't spend freely, eating cheap $5 meals just to save up for a wife fund. Spending over $100 was a huge expense for him. Ethan felt that a man like this was suitable for living a steady life. He definitely wouldn't have trouble finding a wife in the future. Not bad, not bad. You know how to cater to her interests. Tank, you didn't follow me for nothing, haha. Ethan handed the lipstick back to him. Tank stuffed it back into his left pocket and grinned. That's because you taught me well, Ethan. Ethan blew a smoke ring. So, how do you want me to help? Tank looked back to make sure the coast was clear, then leaned in and whispered. Ethan, we have to set up tents this afternoon, right? I'll use the chance while helping her set up to slip this into a gift box and hide it in her tent. Then, tonight, I'll tell her when she finds the box and opens it. So please, Ethan, when the time comes, can you help set off some fireworks? Play some music? Create a little atmosphere? If she accepts the gift, I've got a shot. Hearing this, Ethan looked gratified. Tank, you've finally grown up. You even know about atmosphere. You didn't waste your time doing that grand opening marketing back in the day. This small stuff is no problem. Leave it to me. As your big brother, it's my duty. I just hope you find a good home. Tank. A home? Why does that sound weird? Like I'm a stray dog being adopted? Yeah. Then I'm counting on you, Ethan. Tank solemnly shook Ethan's hands in gratitude. Haha, no problem. Just go for it. Ethan patted his shoulder encouragingly. The two of them discussed the details of the plan while snapping photos of the house. They photographed the entire environment of the plot and even went upstairs to take many shots, capturing the full scope of the property. In the blink of an eye, it was noon. The four of them regrouped, spreading a picnic mat in the overgrown yard to eat the takeout they had brought. "You two finished taking pictures?" Grace asked Ethan. "No problem. We're on a job, don't worry. My camera has over 100 shots already." Ethan made an okay hand gesture. "Good. Then let's set up the tents first. Setting up 3 big tents will take at least 3 or 4 hours. It'll be tough if we wait until dark or if it rains this afternoon." Grace looked up at the sky, which was covered in clouds. It was hard to tell if it would rain. As soon as Ethan and Tank heard the words big tents, their eyes lit up. Tents. It was time to set up the tents. Ethan and Tank exchanged a glance, a sharp glint flashing in both their eyes. Time to execute the plan.